Chapter 3700 Arrival, Advancement of Fire Constellation Force, Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat. 2. His smithery mastery was amazing enough. He might be able to forge an eternal-level spacecraft. Unfortunately, Wang Teng wasn't confident, so his plan failed. It was a pity. In the past, there was a huge gap between Wang Teng's smithery mastery and its. Now, Wang Teng had surpassed it. Round Ball, contact the Blood God clone and ask him to restrain back the Dark Apparition talents. Let him try his best, Wang Teng suddenly said. Okay, Round Ball nodded with a stern expression. Inform me immediately if anything happens. Wang Teng flew out of the Flaming River spacecraft after he finished speaking. He waved his hand and the spacecraft disappeared on the spot. Then he turned into a beam of light and dashed towards the flaming meteorite planetary sector. Boom! The moment he entered the range of the flaming meteorite planetary sector, a loud explosion occurred not far away. A few meteorites collided and the flaming rocks shot towards him. Wang Teng remained calm. A ball of green flame swept out from his body and twirled around him. Before the broken rocks could reach his body, they melted under the high temperature of the green flame. The temperature in the flaming meteorite planetary sector was indeed very high, but compared to Wang Teng's emerald-glazed flame, it was much lower. With the emerald-glazed flame protecting him, Wang Teng was able to travel smoothly in the flaming meteorite planetary sector. No meteorite was able to stop him. A special map of the planetary sector gradually manifested in his mind. This was the map of the flaming meteorite planetary sector. Wang Teng asked the three great elders to get this map from the Solar Dragon race. With the Secondary Career Alliance's headquarters, it wasn't difficult for the three great elders to get a map for him. As the overlord of the Solar Dragon territorial domain, the Solar Dragon race had been living in this domain for countless years. Even if the flaming meteorite planetary sector was considered a forbidden zone, they had a good understanding of it. At least, their understanding was more than Wang Teng's. Since Wang Teng chose the flaming meteorite planetary sector as the place to carve the array, he had studied the distribution of the areas inside. The movement of the meteorites was unstable, but overall there were traces. As a saint-level rune master, Wang Teng had a good grasp of the overall situation. From his point of view, the entire planetary sector chart was in his vision. He could see the entire picture. Wang Teng followed the map and sped through the flaming meteorite planetary sector, evading all the dangers around him. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions kept ringing beside him, but none of them hurt him. Even though they were only a few meters away, the broken rocks that shot out didn't hurt him at all. Flames were one of the greatest powers Wang Teng had. In this flaming meteorite planetary sector, Wang Teng was like a fish in water. He could roam freely. At this moment, attribute bubbles entered Wang Teng's vision. Pick them up. Without any hesitation, he released his spiritual kinesis and picked up the attribute bubbles. Fire Constellation Force 200, Fire Constellation Force 100, Fire Constellation Force 120, Fire Constellation Force. Wang Teng's eyes lit up. He wasn't surprised. There weren't many attribute bubbles, but there was a sizable number of them. It wasn't a small sum. That way, his Fire Constellation Force would be able to achieve a breakthrough soon. Wang Teng picked up the attribute bubbles as he dashed towards the center. He didn't waste any time. The closer he was to the center, the more attribute bubbles there were. He accumulated more and more attributes. Fire Constellation Force 300, Fire Constellation Force 500, Fire Constellation Force 420. At a certain moment, a soft sound came from Wang Teng's body. It seemed to have broken a certain barrier. A breakthrough. Wang Teng was stunned for a moment. He didn't pay much attention to it and just picked up attribute bubbles casually. In the end, he advanced in a blink of an eye. So easy. Fire Constellation Force 1200-2000, second level Heaven Realm. He glanced at the attributes board with a calm expression. This was just a breakthrough to the second level of the Heaven Realm. There was nothing to be happy about. He could be happy after advancing a few more levels. Wang Teng performed his extreme speed and activated his light bolt battle technique. He dashed through the planetary sector and quickly approached the center. Approximately half an hour later, his speed finally slowed down. He landed on a burning meteorite and looked straight ahead. There was a frightening area there, scorching heat spread out. The fire force was many times thicker than the areas they passed by. Boom, 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 explosions were heard. This wasn't an explosion. It was the sonic boom formed by the high-speed movement of the meteorites. It was exceptionally loud in the silent space. The flaming asteroids seemed to be moving at high speed under the guidance of some force. The danger level here is at least 10 times higher than before. Isith appeared on Wang Teng's shoulder and said. Wang Teng turned serious. He wasn't afraid of the scorching heat or the flowing meteorites, but he still had to be careful. "Do you need me to act?" Isith asked. "We can't damage the structure of this place." Wang Teng smiled. After using Isith's ice, the fire force here would be destroyed. This wasn't what he wanted to see. Chapter 3701 Arrival, Advancement of Fire Constellation Force, Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat. 3. He stopped hesitating and stepped on the ground. His body turned into lingering shadows again as he dashed towards the asteroids. Boom. The moment he entered, a meteorite flew over at high speed and slammed into Wang Teng's body. However, it was just a lingering shadow. Wang Teng had already disappeared from his original position. He transformed into a beam of white light and shuttled back and forth among the asteroids. This was the speed of light. Light bolt allowed one's speed to reach the speed of light. It even exceeded the speed of light. As long as the martial warrior was powerful enough, he could exceed the speed of light using this battle technique. After reaching the Heaven Realm, Wang Teng's physical body became extremely strong, and the speed he could release was frightening too. He was almost on par with a 5th or 6th level universe-level martial warrior. The meteorites were moving at a fast speed, but they were nothing in front of Wang Teng. What's more, he didn't execute his space flash. If he used space methods, Wang Teng's speed would be even more terrifying. The benefits of building up one's body wasn't just strength. It was speed too. Boom, boom, boom. Meteorites flew past Wang Teng one by one. The flames around the meteorites left a trail of flames behind them. These asteroids flew right beside Wang Teng. The scorching heat was enough to injure a Heaven Stage martial warrior. Normal martial warriors wouldn't be able to withstand the heat even if they evaded it. However, outside Wang Teng's body, the strange green flame blocked all the heat. Any flames would submit to a divine flame. However, at this moment, a sudden change occurred. Boom! A huge meteorite suddenly exploded, squeak. In an instant, a shrill screech was heard. Then a huge crimson figure fired out from the meteorite and charged towards Wang Teng. Boom! The crimson figure opened its mouth and a terrifying pillar of flame shot out. Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat. Wang Teng squinted, but he didn't panic. He knew from the information given by the Solar Dragon race that the other danger here was this fire element star beast called the Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat. This was a star beast that could suck flames. They fed on flames. If they cultivated and grew stronger, they could become Titan-level presences. However, Titan-level star beasts were rare. In the flaming meteorite planetary sector, there might not be any Titan-level star beasts. Ultimate stage Imperial-level star beasts might exist. However, there must be many of them. The entire flaming meteorite planetary sector had been taken over by them, so outsiders wouldn't be able to occupy this area. Go! After seeing the attacker's appearance, Wang Teng immediately pointed forward. Swoosh! A finger glow formed from green flames shot out from his hand, leaving a clear green mark in the air. Boom! Within a split second, the flaming pillar of light from the great starfire meteorite bat shattered. Then, the finger glow vanished without a trace and landed on the great starfire meteorite bat's head before it could react. After a loud explosion, its head exploded on the spot. The headless body was engulfed in flames as it descended to the ground. Fresh blood spurted out, but it was immediately burned by the flames and disappeared. An instant kill. A high-tier Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat was nothing to Wang Teng with his current ability. Weak. Wang Teng shook his head. He didn't feel any sense of achievement. This star beast was a little weak. Ever since he advanced to the Heaven Realm, his ability underwent a tremendous change. He was able to suppress Imperial-level high-tier Imperial-level star beasts at the same level. Unless it was a star beast with extremely powerful talent, they wouldn't be able to threaten him at the same stage. Wang Teng had the dominant position in the fire domain. At this moment, a few attribute bubbles suddenly appeared on the body of the great star fire meteorite bat. Wang Teng blinked and picked them up. Origin of Life 2500, Origin of Soul 2100, Heaven Realm, Spirit 7500, Fire Constellation Force 8500, Red Fire Pillar 3200, Blank Attribute 23,000. The attribute bubbles of a high-tier Imperial-tier star beast are not bad. Wang Teng's eyes lit up. He started absorbing the bubbles. His Origin of Soul and Origin of Life had improved. To him, these two attributes needed to continue rising. There was still a long way to go. After all, the limit of his Origin of Soul and Origin of Life was 500,000 points. He still needed to work hard. His Heaven Realm spirit had also increased by 7,500 points. This high-tier Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat's spiritual power wasn't good, but it was better than nothing. Before his Origin of Soul reached the perfected stage, he could only continue to lay the foundation of his spiritual power to prepare for his future breakthrough. Wang Teng understood that there was no harm in accumulating more spiritual power. There were only benefits. The more the merrier. Next was the Fire Constellation Force. It rose by 8,500 points in an instant. The sound of a breakthrough was heard in Wang Teng's body again. When he advanced to the second level of the Heaven Realm, he picked up many attribute bubbles. Now, his attributes skyrocketed by 8,500 points and naturally reached the third level of the Heaven Realm. Fire Constellation Force, 2300, 30000, third level Heaven Realm. Wang Teng glanced at the attributes board and nodded slightly. He suddenly realized that with his current frightening battle ability, it wouldn't be difficult for him to reach the peak of the Heaven Lord stage. He should be able to do it in a short time. Not a surprise at all. Wang Teng remained composed as if he just knew something ordinary. He continued looking at the next attribute bubbles. At this moment, an enlightenment appeared in his mind. The Fire Constellation Force turned into a Great Star Fire meteorite bat. Then it operated in a special way and displayed the route map of the force flowing in the body of the Great Star Fire meteorite bat. Boom! A pillar of fire spurted out from the mouth of the Great Star Fire meteorite bat. The power was astonishing. Red Fire Pillar, Heaven Realm, 2200, 3000, well-versed. A Heaven Realm battle technique. Wang Teng nodded slightly. This battle technique had reached the well-versed stage. Not bad. Finally, there were 23,000 points of blank attribute. To Wang Teng, this was a huge sum of money. He had almost used up all his blank attribute when he advanced to the Heaven Realm. He almost used up all his blank attribute to create the Heaven Lord level Chaos Constellation scripture. He spent more than 4 million blank attributes. He didn't know how he spent it. When he was merging the special enlightenment of the Void Conscious, he executed many blank attributes to gain more enlightenment. Fortunately, he had prepared enough blank attributes. If not, he might not be able to come up with the Heaven Lord level chaos constellation scripture successfully. Hence, there was nothing wrong with making more preparations in advance. Blank attribute. 23,000 Wang Teng felt the corners of his lips twitching when he looked at the 23,000 points of attributes he just received. Things were finally back to normal, but he suddenly glanced around him. Boom, boom, boom. The instant he turned his head, the meteorites around him exploded and large-sized great star fire meteorite bats appeared, giving off ear-piercing cries. In an instant, he was surrounded. There were so many of them that his head turned numb. A sharp glint flashed past Wang Teng's eyes. These were all blank attributes. Boom! The great star fire meteorite rats released terrifying attacky scorching pillars of fire shot out and surrounded Wang Teng. Chapter 3702 The Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats. How impudent the wrath of the Bat King. One boom, boom, boom. Explosions resounded in the air, even surpassing the explosions caused by the collision of the meteors. The flaming pillars of light shot over and encircled Wang Teng from all directions. There was no room for him to escape. Wang Teng remained calm. He waved his hand and the green flames around him congregated into fire tongues. They blossomed and shot towards the pillars of fire. Boom, boom, boom. An even more violent explosion occurred. The fire tongues and the flaming pillar of light collided instantly, releasing a frightening force residual. Flames exploded in the air. Crimson and green flames filled up the air, submerging many meteorites. Most of the pillars of fire couldn't withstand Wang Teng's verdant fire tongue. They burst instantly, and the fire tongue swept towards the great star fire meteorite bats behind, wrapping them up tightly. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Piercing screeches were heard. The great star fire meteorite bats started struggling frantically, trying to break free from the fire tongues. However, the fire tongues were formed by a divine flame like the emerald glazed flame. Normal methods wouldn't be able to break free. Wang Teng took this chance to release a large number of green fire tongues around himself. They tied up the great star fire meteorite bats, especially their wings. They couldn't fly anymore because of the fire tongues. Sizzle. Scorching heat spread out from the fire tongues. Instantly, the flames on the bodies of the great star fire meteorite bats dispersed, leaving burnt marks on their bodies. At the same time, the power of the divine flame invaded their bodies and destroyed everything in them. Within a split second, these great star fire meteorite bats, which were originally extremely powerful in fire talent, got injured by the flames. If the martial warriors from the solar dragon race saw this, they would probably be shocked. Even martial warriors from the solar dragon race would have a headache if they saw the great star fire meteorite bat. If not, they wouldn't treat the flaming meteorite planetary sector as a forbidden ground. Yet, Wang Teng was able to injure these great star fire meteorite bats easily. This was unbelievable. Also, there were many great star fire meteorite bats around them. Normal martial warriors wouldn't be able to take care of them in a short time. However, Wang Teng was able to assault in a wide range. Normal martial warriors couldn't be compared to him. A shrill cry came from the mouths of the great star fire meteorite bats. They felt the threat of death. At first, when they felt the green flame, the greed in their bones was ignited. They wanted to devour the flame. They felt that if they could devour the green flame, their talent might undergo a transformation. But now, they were only left with fear. The green flame was terrifying. It was like a bucket of cold water pouring down on them, waking them up. This green flame wasn't something an ordinary star beast could swallow. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The high-tier Imperial-level star beasts weren't entangled by the fire tongues. They were quite powerful, so the pillar of fire they spurted out managed to block the attack of the green fire tongue. Then they evaded it and shot towards Wang Teng. They wanted to use their physical bodies to fight with Wang Teng. "You're looking for death." Wang Teng sneered. He released his fists and the green flames turned into two huge fist marks on his fist. Boom, boom. In an instant, the two high-tier Imperial-level Great Starfire meteorite bats exploded on the spot. Their bodies exploded and blood and flames splattered everywhere. It was a gruesome scene. 4/J The remaining high-tier Imperial-level Great Starfire meteorite bats were stunned. There was fear in their eyes. They flapped their wings frantically and tried to stop themselves. They wanted to escape. "You're dead if you want to leave," Wang Teng smirked. He disappeared on the spot and appeared above a few high-tier Imperial-level Great Starfire meteorite bats. Boom, boom, boom. Fist marks erupted one after another. Scorching and violent force fluctuations slammed down violently. The high-tier Imperial-level Great Starfire meteorite bats exploded instantly. Within a few breaths, Wang Teng had already killed around 5 Imperial-level Great Starfire meteorite bats. The surrounding Great Starfire meteorite bats were terrified when they saw this scene. Unfortunately, these mid-tier Imperial-level and below Great Starfire meteorite bats were all entangled by the green fire tongues and couldn't escape. They could only watch Wang Teng approach them. Boom! Wang Teng walked over step by step. Green flames swept out from Wang Teng's body and engulfed the surrounding Great Starfire meteorite bats. Amidst cries of agony, the Great Starfire meteorite bats that got entangled by the green fire tongues were burned into ashes. Only ashes were left in the air. A large number of attribute bubbles floated out. Wang Teng picked them up without any hesitation. Origin of Life 1600, Origin of Soul 1300, Heaven Realm Spirit 40, 500 Fire Constellation, 46500 Red Fire Pillar, 1500 Blank Attribute, 16,000 Origin of Life, 1800 Origin of Soul 1500 Heaven Realm Spirit 40, 300 Fire Constellation, 6,000 Red Fire Pillar, 1400 Blank Attribute, 15,000 Chapter 3703. The Great Starfire Meteorite. Bats, how impudent, the wrath of the Bat King. 2. These attribute bubbles were no different from the Great Starfire meteorite bat that Wang Teng killed. They were all attributes. Wang Teng glanced at them and didn't pay much attention to them. He would count them at the end. More Great Starfire meteorite bats were rushing over. They didn't plan to let him go so easily. Also, a few of them had powerful auras. They were probably at the peak of high-tier Imperial level. Wang Teng was powerful, but he still had to be careful in front of a high-tier Imperial-level martial warrior. Who knew if they had other skills? Boom! At this moment, a large group of Great Starfire meteorite bats arrived. They flapped their wings in unison and terrifying flames swept out. The entire area turned into a sea of fire, engulfing Wang Teng. Huh! Wang Teng squinted. He could feel the terrifying temperature in the flame. Normal Heaven Stage martial warriors wouldn't be able to resist this flame. Also, with his real eye, he could see a particularly powerful Great Starfire meteorite bat among the Great Starfire meteorite bats. It was hidden among the Great Starfire meteorite bats. It was smaller than the other Great Starfire meteorite bats around it, but the light it gave off was dazzling. It was undoubtedly an ultimate stage Imperial-level star beast. His gaze flickered. The emerald-glazed flame protected him and dispersed the crimson flames around him. The scorching heat couldn't penetrate the protective shield formed by the emerald-glazed flame. Wang Teng moved forward as if he was taking a stroll in the park. Green fire tongues shot out again. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The mid-tier Imperial-level Great Starfire meteorite bats didn't have the time to dodge. Their bodies were penetrated and they died. Wang Teng took a step forward and disappeared. Squeak. The ultimate stage Imperial-level star beast sensed something and gave an ear-piercing screech. The great star fire meteorite bats around it flapped their wings frantically as if they received an order. The flames around them gathered and turned into a huge flaming bat that flew towards Wang Teng. Boom! The entire space vibrated. Terrifying heat spread out from the flaming bat's body and swept through the universe. Wherever it went, the meteorites in the distance would explode. They couldn't withstand the heat, and the space around them started distorting due to the high temperature. Wang Teng squinted. A strange power spread out from his body and turned into an immense domain. When the domain appeared, all the asteroids around it were sucked in and congregated into huge balls of rocks. Green flames intertwined around them. Go! Wang Teng pointed his finger, and the rock balls turned into shooting stars. They flew towards the giant flaming bat. Flaming magnetic meteor domain. Boom! Boom, boom! Explosions occurred on the giant flaming bat's body, causing it to collapse continuously. Thick flames appeared on the giant flaming bat's body. It wanted to block the rock ball's attack. Unfortunately, it was all in vain. Once Wang Teng activated his domain, the fireballs inside kept shooting out. They showed no signs of stopping. Also, the Earth constellation force was usually needed to form the rocks, but in this place, he only needed to pull the meteorites in, and they could be turned into his attacks. It was much easier. Hence, he could continue attacking without stopping. Squeak! An ear-piercing screech erupted from the mouth of the ultimate stage Imperial-level star beast. The great star fire meteorite bats around it started urging their flames furiously and merged into the flaming bats. Its collapsed body was repaired continuously and even started to solidify. HMPH, Wang Teng snorted. Fireballs congregated and turned into a huge fireball in his domain. It was like a star and gave off terrifying fluctuations. Squeak! The flaming bat opened its mouth and gave a shrill screech. Then it ignored the fireballs and charged towards Wang Teng. Wang Teng squinted. He waved his hand and the giant fireball erupted. Boom! In an instant, the two forces collided. A terrifying force residual swept out in all directions. The crimson flame and the green flame swept in all directions, combusting everything. Some primary-rank great star fire meteorite bats couldn't withstand the residual impact and exploded on the spot. They perished instantly. Wang Teng bathed in the flames and wasn't affected at all. There seemed to be an insurmountable chasm between the crimson flame and the green flame. The green flame was like the king of fire. The crimson beast flames could only submit to it. The battle ended quickly. The flaming bat couldn't withstand the pressure anymore and disintegrated inch by inch. It dissipated in space. The giant fireball crashed forward like a hot knife cutting through butter. The great star fire meteorite bats turned into a mist of blood under its pressure. Squeak! Suddenly, the ultimate stage Imperial-level great star fire meteorite bat gave a shrill cry. Its cry was different from before, sharper and more ear-piercing. There was also a spiritual fluctuation in it, which formed visible sound waves in the flames and swept towards Wang Teng. You know spiritual attacks? Wang Teng was surprised. The great star fire meteorite bats he met in the past didn't have robust spiritual power. Wang Teng knew this because there weren't many spirit attribute bubbles dropped by the great star fire meteorite bats. Chapter 3704, The Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats. How impudent! The Wrath of the Bat King. 3. Wang Teng always thought that they weren't good at spiritual skills. However, this ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat exceeded his expectations. This was a Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat that had mastered a spiritual attack. Also, this soundwave attack contained scorching flames. Normal fire attacks couldn't be compared to it. This was a combination of spiritual power and force. Wang Teng's eyes lit up. He seemed to have discovered something interesting. Squeak, squeak, squeak. At this moment, the surrounding great star fire meteorite bats started cawing too. The sound merged into the cries of the ultimate stage Imperial-level great star fire meteorite bat, making the soundwave attack even more terrifying. Wang Teng's expression froze. Something exceeded his expectations. This was a group attack skill. If there was only one great star fire meteorite bat, it wouldn't be able to execute this combination of spiritual power and force. However, with the ultimate stage Imperial-level great star fire meteorite bat as the catalyst, the other great star fire meteorite bats only needed to merge their spiritual power and force into the sound waves to make this attack extremely powerful. If this attack was compared to the construction of a building, the primary rank bats would at most be brick carriers. But FK, I want to report them. They are cheating. Wang Teng wanted to complain. If these great star fire meteorite bats executed this soundwave attack alone, it wouldn't have much power. It wasn't a threat. But if a bunch of great star fire meteorite bats executed this soundwave attack at the same time, it would be able to undergo a transformation. Hence, he had to be careful. Unfortunately, spiritual skills were his forte too. He could only blame the great star fire meteorite bats for being unlucky. Whether it was fire element skills or spirit skills, they were all his forte. 9 Treasures Pagoda. A shout resounded in Wang Teng's heart. Boom! A divine 9-level pagoda suddenly appeared in his chaos planetary sector. It gave off a dazzling golden glow. Originally, the 9 Treasures Pagoda was concealed in the black hole in his body. Now that he had advanced to the Heaven realm, the black hole had turned into the Chaos planetary sector. The 9 Treasures Pagoda was also hidden in the Chaos planetary sector. Normally, it wouldn't appear, but when it was time to use it, the pagoda formed from spiritual power would appear. At this moment, the 9 Treasures Pagoda flew out from Wang Teng's forehead and enlarged continuously. It grew from the size of a finger to a huge pagoda that was a few hundred feet tall. It floated above his head and terrifying spiritual fluctuations spread out from it. Bang! The soundwave attack followed and slammed into the spiritual fluctuations released by the 9 Treasures Pagoda. A dull thud was heard. The 9 Treasures Pagoda vibrated violently. The attacks of a bunch of great star fire meteorite bats shouldn't be underestimated. If not, he wouldn't be afraid. HMPH, you want to play with my spiritual power. Let me show you what real spiritual power is. Wang Teng snorted. A strange smile appeared at the edge of his lips. Wisps of spiritual power seeped out from his 9 Treasures Pagoda and instantly diffused to the surrounding space. Then, under the influence of his spiritual power, a strange change appeared silently. Boom! Some distance away, a terrifying great star fire meteorite bat flew over at high speed. It spread its wings and covered the entire sky, giving off a terrifying fluctuation. The ultimate stage Imperial-level great star fire meteorite bat was stunned. Why was there such a powerful companion here? Could it be an ancestor who had lived for who knows how many years? Was it attracted by the green flame too? Questions appeared in the ultimate stage Imperial-level great star fire meteorite bat's mind. It started to get confused. The formidable aura that kept sweeping towards it made it shudder. Terrifying. From the aura, this must be a Titan-level ancestor. Indeed, there was a Titan-level ancestor in its race. At this moment, the ultimate stage Imperial-level great star fire meteorite bat couldn't care about Wang Teng anymore. It immediately retreated to the side and welcomed its ancestor. The great star fire meteorite bats around them shivered in fear. They didn't even dare to make a sound. How dare you? At this moment, a majestic voice came from afar and echoed in the universe. It was deafening. Ancestor. The ultimate stage Imperial-level great star fire meteorite bat jumped in fright. It didn't know how it provoked this ancestor. Why didn't you report the discovery of the divine flame? Why do I have to do it personally? Are you planning to keep it for yourselves? The regal voice was already near them. The wind howled and scorching heat swept through the sky. The humongous Great Star Fire meteorite bat arrived in an instant. Its wings covered a large area of the planetary sector, casting a shadow on the ground as it circled above all the Great Star Fire meteorite bats. A terrifying pressure enveloped the entire space. This was definitely the will of a Titan-level presence. The Great Star Fire meteorite bats were even more certain that this was their ancestor. Even the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat didn't dare to doubt him. Also, divine flame. The green flame was a divine flame. Chapter 3705 The Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats. How impudent! The wrath of the Bat King. 4. Their ancestor couldn't be wrong. It wouldn't lie to them. They lived in a remote corner, but they knew about the existence of divine flames. As fire element creatures, if they could get their hands on the divine flame, their talent and bloodline would undergo a transformation. They might even be able to advance to the Titan level in the future. However, no matter how excited it was, the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat was still frightened by its ancestor's words. It stuttered, "Ancestor, listen to my excuses. No, listen to my explanation. We just discovered the existence of this green flame and wanted to snatch it for our race. Also, we didn't know about your existence. If we did, we would have offered it to you. HMPH. The majestic voice snorted and said calmly, "I'm sure you're thinking for the sake of your race, but I'm just unhappy with your shifty look. Why are you still trying to quibble? Do you think I'm easy to fool?" The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat's face turned green. Shifty look. Did it have a shifty look? What was even more outrageous was that its ancestor didn't like it because of this. Could there be a mistake? It felt wronged. "Ancestor, spare me, tilde, I won't dare to do it again." The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat's eyes flickered continuously. It felt uneasy and hurriedly begged for mercy. "Never mind, it looks like you're thinking for our race. You can escape death, but you can't escape punishment. Eat this ancestor's hammer of love." A majestic voice came from the sky. "Hammer of love." The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat was confused. It didn't know what the hammer of love was. Boom! But before it could think further, a loud explosion came from the sky. Then it noticed a huge flaming hammer smashing down on its head. Its pupils constricted violently and it was flabbergasted. It wanted to dodge, but it didn't dare to. It was truly the hammer of love. This was a real hammer. Bang! The next instant, when it was still hesitating, the hammer landed on its head and gave a dull thud. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat saw stars and got dizzy from the smashing. Its vision turned black. Under the bombardment of the giant mace, it immediately felt its spiritual body getting impacted. Blood flowed out of its nose and mouth. Squeak! The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat immediately sensed something amiss. The Titan-level ancestor in front of it had disappeared. Even the flaming hammer had turned into a golden pagoda with green flames burning on its surface. This was the pagoda that smashed into it. It immediately felt that it had been tricked. A strong sense of humiliation surged into its heart. This human martial warrior was just a Heaven Realm martial warrior, but he managed to fool an ultimate stage Imperial-level presence like him. As the leader of the Great Star Fire meteorite bats, where was it supposed to put its face? Squeak! It bore with the dizziness and let out a shrill screech at Wang Teng. It desired to attack. "Why are you shouting?" Wang Teng sneered. He had already controlled the 9 Treasures Pagoda and smashed it down on its head. Bang! Another loud explosion was heard. Before the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat could react, the 9 Treasures Pagoda had already landed on its head. Bastard! The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat was enraged. It shouted in anger. Thud, Thud, thud. Unfortunately, Wang Teng didn't give it a chance. The 9 treasures pagoda kept smashing down and hitting its head. Spiritual fluctuations surged out and invaded the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat's head. Squeak. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat kept shrilling as it tried to evade the 9 treasures pagoda's attacks. However, its head didn't listen to its command. Its spiritual body got hit and got heavily injured after some time. Even if it wanted to use the spiritual soundwave attack again, it wouldn't be able to execute it successfully. A mocking smile appeared at the edge of Wang Teng's lips. It couldn't even resist the illusion formed by his illusion heart scripture. This ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat's spirit was nothing special. The other party was tempting fate by using spiritual power to fight with him. Wang Teng's spirit had reached the peak of the Heaven Lord realm. It was comparable to a universe stage martial warrior. How could this ultimate stage Imperial-level star beast be compared to him? After some time, Wang Teng stopped the 9 treasures pagoda attack. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat was dead. It hung its head in midair, and its eyes lost their focus. It looked as if it was dead. The surrounding Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats didn't dare to get close. They glared at this scene in astonishment. These Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats possessed high intelligence. They felt threatened by Wang Teng's ability, especially after their leader was subdued. They didn't dare to act rashly. Wang Teng was just about to kill the Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats when he thought of something. He released his spiritual kinesis and picked up the attribute bubbles dropped by the Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats. Heaven Realm Spirit 80-500 Fire Constellation Force 12,500 Chapter 3706 The Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats. How impudent! The Wrath of the Bat King. 5. Bat Sonic Wave 3500 Bat Kings Wrath 1600. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats attribute bubbles were the first ones that Wang Teng picked up. Wang Teng was interested in its ability. A few attribute bubbles combined into his body. His spiritual power attribute increased by 8,500 points, which was a lot. Mind you, Wang Teng didn't kill this ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat, but it was able to drop so many attributes. If he killed it, additional attributes would be dropped. His fire constellation force rose by 12,500 points, as expected of an ultimate stage Imperial-level star beast. Normal star beasts couldn't be compared to it. Fire constellation force 1500 40000, 4th level Heaven Realm. At the same time, the sound of a shield breaking was heard in Wang Teng's body again. He glanced at the attributes board and realized that his fire constellation force had advanced to the 4th level of the Heaven Realm. This speed was really fast. From the 1st level Heaven Realm to the 4th level Heaven Realm, it took less than a day. The attribute bubbles turned into an enlightenment and merged into Wang Teng's mind. A strange image appeared. On the screen, there was a huge star fire meteorite bat. It was formed from flames and looked exceptionally strange. Suddenly, a strange path appeared in the body of the Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat. At the same time, a golden glow blossomed on its head and turned into a strange mark. The next instant, the outline of the Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat opened its mouth and let out a shrill screech. The sound wave swept through the surroundings with the power of flames. Bat Sonic Wave, Universe Level, 505,000 well-versed. A universe-level battle technique. Wang Teng's eyes lit up. There was astonishment in them. He didn't expect this ultimate stage Imperial-level star meteorite bat's battle technique to reach the universe level. No wonder normal Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats couldn't grasp this battle technique. This wasn't just because it had a higher requirement for spiritual power. It was probably also because the technique's level was high. The bats needed to reach a certain level before they could awaken from the bloodline talent. Wang Teng received 3,500 points of attributes, so his grasp of this battle technique jumped from the foundation to the well-versed stage. He was able to use it skillfully now. As expected, this battle technique was a combination of spirit and force. It was similar to the soul devour sound and the divine sonic wave. Of course, these three battle techniques had their pros and cons. They couldn't be generalized. Bat sonic wave was a battle technique that contained spiritual power as well as the power of flames. To a martial warrior with powerful fire talent and spirit talent, this battle technique was more valuable than the other two battle techniques. Spiritual attacks were accompanied by force attacks. Wang Teng had only seen a few battle techniques like this. They were extremely rare. If his spirit wasn't strong enough to overpower the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat, he wouldn't have been able to block the bat's sonic wave attack. Also, it could stack soundwave attacks from the other Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats. It was a special skill. Wang Teng smiled after absorbing the enlightenment of this battle technique. He was in a good mood. He was satisfied with this battle technique. The last attribute bubbles merged into Wang Teng's mind. Suddenly, he was stunned. A strange scene appeared in Wang Teng's thoughts again. This time, there was a group of Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats. There was a special presence among them. It opened its mouth abruptly and let out a special cry. The Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats around them seemed to have received an order. They launched their attacks in an orderly manner like a well-trained troop. This battle technique is interesting. A spiritual light flashed in Wang Teng's mind. He was enlightened. Then he looked at the attributes board with interest. Wrath of the Bat King, Universe Level, 1603,000 Foundation. This was another Universe-level spirit battle technique. What's more, it was special. Based on the enlightenment he received just now, this battle technique was able to command the Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats. It was a kind of talent governing skill. This reminded Wang Teng of the Wolf King reign he received in the past. It had a strong command over the Wolf Pack too. This time, he received the Wrath of the Bat King, which allowed him to rule over the Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats. This was a pleasant surprise for Wang Teng. At first, he planned to kill these Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats and get some blank attributes from them. But from the looks of it now, he wasn't in a hurry. Next, he would carve an array here. These Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats would be the best tools. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat was subdued by him, so it wasn't a threat. He also possessed the Wrath of the Bat King, so controlling this bunch of Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats was a piece of cake. It's just a little too low. It's only at the foundation stage. Wang Teng touched his chin and looked at the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat. A dangerous glint appeared in his eyes. Ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat. Chapter 3707 Devil, Flaming Meteorite, Space Teleportation. How do you feel now? 1. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat was in despair. It realized that it couldn't win against this human martial warrior. How could his spiritual power be so strong? This didn't make sense. He was just a heaven stage martial warrior, but he possessed such powerful spiritual power. The spiritual skills it was so proud of were useless. It couldn't accept this. What made it even more frustrated was that this human martial warrior was looking at him with an evil gaze. He looked as though he was up to no good. It felt like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. It was an ultimate stage Imperial-level presence. Didn't it care about its face? Can you show some respect? Come, look at my eyes. Wang Teng grinned as he stepped on the air and spoke to the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat. I'm not looking. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat blinked and turned its head away. Wang Teng, FK, it's quite smart, but it made sense. The other party possessed spiritual power, which meant that it had some understanding of spiritual power. Hence, it remained vigilant. Looks like you want to do this the hard way. Wang Teng's gaze turned dangerous. He snorted and the 9 treasures pagoda slammed down again. FK, you sneaked an attack again. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat was like a startled bat. It got a fright and shouted in anger as it tried to dodge. However, the enemy was too close and its spiritual power was heavily injured. It started to slow down. Bang! The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat's head trembled violently. It was dizzy and in a daze. Wang Teng appeared in front of it in the blink of an eye. A strange crimson glow flashed past his eyes and stabbed right into them. Boom! The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat was in a daze before it could react. Its spiritual body trembled and it got enchanted. When the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat woke up, it didn't even know what had happened. "Execute the wrath of the Bat King," Wang Teng said calmly. Yes, the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat wanted to refute, but it perceived that it couldn't resist the other party at all. The word yes came out of its mouth. It was flabbergasted. What's going on? Why did it listen to his order obediently? It was unwilling, but its body remained obedient. What the hell? This didn't make sense. What was even more outrageous was, how did this fellow know it's wrath of the Bat King? Even the normal Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats didn't know about this skill. Only the Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats who had awakened their bloodline talent knew about it. But no matter how puzzled and unwilling it was, it couldn't disobey Wang Teng's order. It could only execute the wrath of the Bat King. The surrounding Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats didn't know what happened. When they heard the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat's cry, they looked in its direction and waited for its order. However, the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat only executed the wrath of the Bat King. It didn't give any orders. The surrounding Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats were puzzled. Was this a joke? Wang Teng's eyes lit up. He saw a few attribute bubbles floating above the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat's head. It was amazing. He picked them up immediately. Wrath of the Bat King 500 good. There was nothing wrong with this way of farming attributes. Continue. Wang Teng sniggered in his heart. He asked the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat to continue executing the wrath of the Bat King. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat cawed continuously and utilized its bloodline power to control the Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats around it. The wrath of the Bat King used bloodline suppression and a certain amount of spiritual power to control the primary rank Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats. This wasn't a problem for Wang Teng. He possessed the blood god physique. As long as he could get the blood of origin, he could imitate the bloodline power of any living creature. As the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat executed the wrath of the Bat King continuously, Wang Teng got more and more attribute bubbles. His wrath of the Bat King rose from the foundation stage to the well-versed stage. It was even moving towards the specialized stage. Continue. Continue, Wang Teng urged. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat's face was scrunched up in pain. It might be an ultimate stage Imperial-level Star Beast, but continuous execution of the wrath of the Bat King consumed much of its spirit and bloodline power. Even its throat was hoarse from all the screaming. But it couldn't resist Wang Teng's order no matter what. It was in despair. Tears almost flowed down its eyes. Devil. This was a devil. The Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats around it looked at this scene in fear. They observed the problem too. Their leader seemed to be controlled. But what could they do? They couldn't resist the control of the wrath of the Bat King either. Wang Teng farmed a few more attribute bubbles until he raised his Wrath of the Bat King to the specialized stage. Wrath of the Bat King, Universe level, 308,000 specialized. Wang Teng glanced at the attributes horde and reluctantly accented this result. Then he glanced at the ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat in disdain. Chapter 30, 708 Devil, Flaming Meteorite, Space Teleportation. How do you feel now? 2. You're an ultimate stage Imperial level Star Beast. Why are you so useless? You cried for so long before I managed to advance to the specialized stage. Ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat. It didn't know what the other party meant, but it could tell that he was looking down on it. I need a drop of your blood of origin. Wang Teng ignored his bitterness and replied calmly. The ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat was furious. He tortured it for half a day, but he still wanted its blood of origin. This was too much. Be quick, Wang Teng said indifferently. The ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat felt exasperated. It wanted to resist, but its body remained obedient. A drop of blood squeezed out from its forehead. It was dumbfounded. Its heart was dead. What was wrong with it? Could someone save it? At this moment, it really hoped that an ancestor could appear and save it from this suffering. But that was all fake. 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 Important things must be emphasized thrice. Wang Teng stretched out his hand. The drop of blood floated into his palm under the other party's gaze. Then a ball of red light emerged from his hand and enveloped the drop of blood. The drop of blood started squirming violently as if it was pulled by some force. Veins of blood seeped out from the red light and invaded the drop of blood. So that's how it is. After some time, Wang Teng smiled. He seemed to have understood something. Suddenly, a special bloodline power spread out from his body. He turned and said to the Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats around him, "You can leave now. Don't go far away. Listen to my order while you're nearby." Squeak, squeak, squeak. The Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats cawed softly when they heard his voice. Then they flew away in all directions. The ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat was dumbfounded. Who am I? Where am I? What's going on? Why are my lackeys listening to this human martial warrior's order? A series of doubts appeared in its mind. It immediately turned to look at Wang Teng. Then, as if it sensed something, a look of disbelief appeared in its eyes. It sensed a similar bloodline power from this human martial warrior. The other party was executing the wrath of the Bat King. What the hell? What was going on? Could it be that the other party asked it to execute the wrath of the Bat King continuously because he wanted to learn it secretly? But this was outrageous. They weren't from the same race to begin with, and the wrath of the Bat King was extremely hard to learn. How could he learn it secretly just by watching him execute it? There was a problem. There was definitely a problem. This ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat had gone a little crazy because of Wang Teng. Wang Teng ignored it and landed on its body. He pointed in a direction and ordered, "Bring me there." Damn it. Impudent. This Heaven Realm martial warrior was using it as his mount. Screech. The ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat cawed and flew obediently in the direction Wang Teng pointed. "Are there other Great Star Fire Meteorite Bats here?" Wang Teng asked calmly. "I don't know. I won't tell you even if I die." The ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat thought to itself in grief and indignation. However, it still replied immediately, "There are a few other clans that have ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat commanders." Good. A strange smile appeared at the edge of Wang Teng's lips. This ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat didn't know what Wang Teng was thinking, but it knew that he was up to no good. It got nervous. Wang Teng didn't say anything else. He looked at his attributes board and picked up the attribute bubbles dropped by the great star fire meteorite bats. All his attributes had increased. Origin of life: 294,505,000,000. Origin of soul: 342,500,000. His origin of soul and origin of life rose too. Many great star fire meteorite bats were killed by Wang Teng, and a large number of origin of soul and origin of life attributes were dropped. Fire constellation force: 35,504,000. Fourth level heaven realm. His fire constellation force rose tremendously too. Although it hadn't reached the fourth level of the heaven realm, it wasn't far off. Wang Teng wasn't in a hurry. There were many great star fire meteorite bats here. He could kill them after he used them up. The fire force in this area was thick, so there were many fire constellation force attribute bubbles. He might be able to advance quickly after farming a few more rounds. Red fire pillar, heaven realm, 2805,000 specialized. Bat sonic wave, universe level, 3505,000 well-versed. Bat sonic wave had improved, but it was still at the well-versed stage. These normal great star fire meteorite bats were definitely not as skilled as this ultimate stage imperial level great star fire meteorite bat. No matter how much attributes Wang Teng collected, it wouldn't be higher than the other party. On the other hand, the other battle technique, the red fire pillar, rose from the well-versed stage to the specialized stage. Its mastery rose by a whole level. Meteorite bat fire, 12,500,000, fifth rank. Also, Wang Teng received another special beast flame called the meteorite bat fire. This was the beast flames of the great star fire meteorite bat race. This race devoured meteorite flames for a living. As time went BV, this special flame was born in their bodies. It had a high temperature. Chapter 3709 Devil, Flaming Meteorite, Space Teleportation. How do you feel now? 3. To a normal martial warrior, this was a troublesome fire element skill. Also, based on the level of the meteorite bat fire, it could continue to rise. This was why the great star fire meteorite bats wanted to snatch Wang Teng's emerald glazed flame after seeing it. Once they devoured the emerald glazed flame, they would have a chance to upgrade their meteorite bat fire and increase its power. However, there was a high chance that Wang Teng wouldn't raise it. He knew that no matter how much the flame rose, it wouldn't be able to surpass a divine flame. There was no need for that. The upper limit of this flame had been set. No matter how hard they worked, the final result would still be there. Nothing would change. This was tragic. But what did it have to do with Wang Teng? He wouldn't waste time and resources to raise this flame unless he had the chance to pick it up. Blank attribute, 155,000. Lastly, there was the blank attribute. After picking the bubbles up, Wang Teng had 155,000 points of blank attribute. He wasn't poor anymore. Wang Teng looked at the attributes board on his attributes board and almost cried. What a tough journey. From having a huge sum of money to being penniless to being wealthy again. Who else could experience this roller coaster ride? Fortunately, the ultimate stage imperial level great star fire meteorite bat below him didn't know what he was thinking. If not, it would have spat fire on his face. The great star fire meteorite bats have suffered too much for your blank attribute. Wang Teng steered the ultimate stage imperial level great star fire meteorite bat and flew through the asteroid belt. He successfully evaded all the dangerous areas. This ultimate stage imperial level great star fire meteorite bat was obviously familiar with this place. This saved him much effort. Even if he met some meteorites, he didn't need to act. This ultimate stage imperial level great star fire meteorite bat would be able to deal with them easily. Very soon, Wang Teng passed through the asteroid belt. The path ahead suddenly opened up. A huge planet appeared in front of him. There was a huge planet behind the asteroid belt. The planet was filled with fire force. Crimson flames burned furiously and enveloped the entire planet. It was a magnificent sight. Attribute bubbles floated on the surface of the planet. The moment Wang Teng arrived, he noticed their presence. They were too eye-catching. It was hard not to see them. The densely packed attribute bubbles were like gemstones lying on the ground. They were waiting for someone who knew their stuff to pick them up. Pick them up, Wang Teng had a sudden thought. His spiritual kinesis was like a huge net, enveloping everything in its path. A large number of attribute bubbles were collected instantly. Fire Constellation Force 600, Fire Constellation Force 500, Earth Constellation Force 500. These were all Fire Constellation Force attributes. Wang Teng immediately felt a scorching and magnificent force sweeping through his body. It flowed through his limbs and bones. Boom! An explosion occurred. His Fire Constellation Force rose again. Soaring. Indeed, it rose exponentially. Within a few seconds, his Fire Constellation Force rose from the 4th level Heaven Realm to the 5th level Heaven Realm. Then it climbed all the way to the 6th level Heaven Realm and continued rising. Boom! 2 explosions occurred in his body, one after the other. It was unstoppable. The ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat experienced a scorching and powerful aura coming from its back. It was shocked. This human martial warrior seemed to have become stronger. He achieved a breakthrough. No way, no way. How did he suddenly achieve a breakthrough? He suddenly realized that there seemed to be something inexplicable happening to this human martial warrior. Was he the legendary talent of the human race? In the past, he had heard many rumors about the talents of the human race, especially the talents from the solar dragon race. Many of them entered the flaming meteorite planetary sector to gain experience and fought with the locals. Some of these talents managed to achieve a breakthrough as they fought. This was outrageous. From the looks of it, the human martial warrior on its back was even more outrageous. Fire Constellation Force 46,506,0000, 6th level Heaven Realm. Wang Teng glanced at the attributes board and realized that he had indeed reached the 6th level of the Heaven Realm. He wasn't far from achieving a breakthrough. He would be able to advance to the 6th level of the Heaven Realm soon. Then he disregarded his realm and looked up at the flaming planet. This wasn't a star. It was just a planet engulfed in flames. However, the fire force on it wasn't weaker than a star's. In fact, it was many times thicker. This should be the flaming meteorite, Wang Teng muttered. That's right, this is the flaming meteorite. The ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat nodded. There was dread in its eyes as it looked at the planet in front. You seem afraid of this planet, Wang Teng asked in surprise. The ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat immediately shut its mouth and expressed that it didn't want to talk to him. Answer me, Wang Teng replied calmly. The temperature of the flames on this planet is extremely high, and there are some dangerous places. If it explodes suddenly, even ultimate stage Imperial level star beasts like us won't be able to withstand it. The ultimate stage Imperial level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat only hesitated for a moment before it started explaining. Are there any star beasts on this planet? Wang Teng asked. Chapter 3710 Devil, Flaming Meteorite, Space Teleportation. How do you feel now? 4. Sometimes there will be star beasts cultivating on it, and they are all powerful presences. They are at least high-tier Imperial-level star beasts at the peak of the Imperial level. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat had already given up struggling and replied in a rigid tone. Let's enter this planet. Wang Teng nodded and issued his order. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat hesitated again, before flying towards the planet in front. It had been to this planet before and had cultivated on it for a long time, so it wasn't afraid. As long as this human martial warrior didn't seek death, he wouldn't die. Boom! The moment he came close to the planet, Wang Teng felt a scorching heat surging towards him. Even with the protection of the emerald glazed flame, his skin still felt a tinge of burning pain. This didn't mean that the emerald glazed flame wasn't powerful enough to withstand the temperature outside. It was just that Wang Teng wasn't strong enough to release the full potential of the emerald glazed flame. Everyone knew that the temperature of a divine flame could be changed based on the ability of the holder. If the owner's fire constellation force was strong and pure enough, he would be able to raise the temperature of the divine flame to an extremely high level. Force was fuel. The thicker and purer the fuel, the higher the temperature of the flame. Of course, there were still differences in the strength of the divine flames. Interesting. Wang Teng's eyes lit up. He was curious. This planet was described in the information given by the solar dragon race. Some people came here before and knew that there was danger here, but they didn't explain it clearly. Everyone would probably encounter different dangers. Also, if they explained all the dangers, the journey of gaining experience would be meaningless. As for the solar dragon race, this was a training ground. It could increase the ability of the martial warriors from the solar dragon race. That was why they disregarded it and allowed it to exist. Fortunately, this ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat knew some things that allowed him to be prepared. Wang Teng didn't have the time to explore this planet carefully. He needed time to complete the array. Iceth. As he got closer, Wang Teng felt the temperature getting higher and higher. He shouted in his heart. An ice-blue bead suddenly appeared and floated above his head. Crack! A layer of ice appeared on his body and enveloped him. He looked like an armor made of ice. This feels much better, Wang Teng smiled. The temperature here is really high. Iceth observed her surroundings and exclaimed in surprise. The entire planetary sector has an extremely thick fire force. Without a source, it won't be able to last for long, Wang Teng said with a glint in his eyes. Are you saying that this planet is the source of the fire force in this planetary sector? Iceth pondered. Sort of. The entire planetary sector is a little special. You can't just consider the normal circumstances, Wang Teng replied. Iceth agreed slightly. She had seen similar places before. A special place could be formed where the power of heaven and earth congregated. This planetary sector should be a place where the power of heaven and earth congregated. If one investigated carefully, they would be able to discover many natural patterns. That was the source of the fire element. At first, she didn't think about this, but after Wang Teng's reminder, she remembered some distant memories. Be careful! Suddenly, she noticed something and shouted. Boom! A terrifying flaming tornado rose from below and swept towards Wang Teng coincidentally. Huh! Wang Teng's eyes constricted. He immediately released his fist and shouted, Charge! Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a huge fist mark erupted from his fist and smashed down. It was like a mountain made of flames. The flaming tornado below dispersed. Flames burst out and swept towards the surroundings. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire meteorite bat wanted to refute, but it felt that this was dangerous. It widened its eyes in astonishment when it saw Wang Teng's attack. Was this really a heaven stage martial warrior? He was so powerful. Did it mean that he didn't use his full strength during the fight? His head was numb. Where did this monster come from? The more astounded it was, the more it didn't dare to be careless. It flapped its wings and rushed into the flames below. As an ultimate stage Imperial-level fire element star beast, normal flames wouldn't be able to hurt it. Wang Teng had already dispersed the flaming tornado, so the power inside couldn't hurt them anymore. Let's choose a safer place to land, Wang Teng ordered as he picked up the attribute bubbles around him. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat became more obedient and flew in a certain direction obediently. It was familiar with this place, so it evaded a few dangers along the way and quickly found a safer place. This was a tall mountain that was also enveloped in flames. It was indeed a flaming mountain. However, compared to other places, the flames here were calmer and there was no flaming tornado that would erupt occasionally. It was relatively safer. Wang Teng jumped down from the ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat and looked around him. He nodded in satisfaction and said, "Watch over the planet, don't stop anyone if they come." Chapter 37 11 Devil, Flaming Meteorite, Space Teleportation. How do you feel now? 5. Oh right, dark apparitions might come. Take care of yourself. Wang Teng thought of something and added, dark apparitions. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat was astounded. Why are there dark apparitions? You don't have to know, Wang Teng replied calmly. Ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat. It glanced at Wang Teng. Without a doubt, it had something to do with this fellow. It wanted to curse. This wasn't just a malignant star. He was a jinx. FK. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat cursed in its heart. It immediately flew out of the planet. Don't run away. A calm voice came from behind. The ultimate stage Imperial-level Great Star Fire Meteorite Bat paused in midair and flew away in frustration. A cold smile appeared at the edge of Wang Teng's lips as he looked at the other party's back view. It wasn't easy for the bat to leave. He was an ultimate stage Imperial-level martial warrior. It would be a waste to let it go. He needed to make full use of its remaining value. It's time to carve the space teleportation array. Then he gazed at the empty ground below the mountain in front of him. Spiritual kinesis swept out from his forehead and turned into carving knives on the ground. Boom! At the same time, the emerald-glazed flame swept out from his body and plummeted down from the sky. It formed an inverted green bowl and enveloped the entire area. The flames outside were dispersed and were no longer able to affect the area. Scorching flames were still seeping out from the ground, but with the emerald-glazed flame blocking it, it didn't pose much of a threat to Wang Teng's carvings. As an outstanding rune master, he needed to take into account the interference of the elements around him when he was carving the runes and disregard them. It was normal to fail after being disturbed, but not for an outstanding rune master. Those were just ordinary rune masters. Wang Teng was one of the best. Normal interference wasn't enough for him to fail. After some time, strange ancient runes appeared on the scorching ground. They gave off a dazzling silver glow. This time, Wang Teng's space teleportation array wasn't big and it wasn't high rank. This place wasn't far from the solar dragon planet. It couldn't be compared to the time when Wang Teng was teleported back to the light universe from the dark universe. Time passed slowly. Within an hour, a space teleportation array was completed. Thick space fluctuations spread out. Teleport. Wang Teng didn't hesitate. He flew down from the mountain and landed in the array. The space power in his body was instilled into the array instantly. Boom! The ancient runes on the array lit up. Light spread throughout the array and a silver-white pillar of light shot into the sky. When the light dissipated, Wang Teng's figure had disappeared without a trace. On a small satellite outside the solar dragon planet, a bunch of martial warriors were gathered here. They examined serious and solemn. Many of them had dark red dragon horns on their heads. They were muscular creatures with dark red scales on their chests and arms. They were the martial warriors from the solar dragon race. There were also some martial warriors from the secondary career alliance headquarters and the three great elders that Wang Teng was familiar with. The auras of these martial warriors were extremely terrifying. Although they didn't release their auras intentionally and seemed extremely restrained, the faint aura still suffocated people. No one dared to get close. It was obvious that these were eternal-level martial warriors. There were multiple eternal-level martial warriors on this small satellite. If word got out, many people would be flabbergasted. What was even more frightening was that there was an almost undetectable consciousness lurking around the satellite. It seemed to have merged with the space around it. Even an eternal stage ruler wouldn't be able to sense its presence. In summary, the entire space around the satellite seemed to be sealed. Not even a fly could fly in. Great elders, are you sure he can be teleported over? The time is so short, and the flaming meteorite planetary sector isn't a good place. It's very difficult to carve a space teleportation array here. After waiting for a long time, a formidable martial warrior from the solar dragon race couldn't help but opened his mouth. They had been waiting here for 2 days, but they hadn't received any news, so they felt anxious. Mind you, every day was precious. They mustn't waste any time. If the dark apparitions took this chance to launch an all-out attack, they would suffer huge losses. Thus, even the eternal-level martial warriors felt a little anxious. We believe in him. Dan Chen and the other 2 great elders exchanged glances with each other. They were a little anxious, but they still nodded. As people who had personally experienced the exchange event at the Secondary Career Alliance's headquarters and the subsequent battle, they found it hard not to trust Wang Teng, even though he was still very weak in their eyes. However, the other party seemed to be able to do things that seemed impossible. They were willing to take the bet with him. The Solar Dragon race martial warriors' expressions changed. They didn't know what to say. They were amazed by Wang Teng's achievements, but in this situation, they couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Thus, when they saw the blind trust of the 3 great elders, they were suspicious and even impatient. A lady from the Solar Dragon race had a complex expression. She moved her lips but didn't say anything in the end. This wasn't a place for her to interrupt. A figure appeared in her mind when she heard everyone talking about this fellow. She felt emotional. She thought that the other party was dead, but he came back in this manner. This fellow was tough. What's more, the other party was able to let so many eternal-level martial warriors, including the great elders from the Secondary Career Alliance headquarters, wait for him here. His ability was entirely different from when he left Stellar Academy. She couldn't imagine what he had experienced. This wasn't something that could be clarified with a few words. Beside her, another male martial warrior from the Solar Dragon race crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared calmly at the figures in front of him. Even though the other party was extremely calm, Zhulong Shuang could still feel the emotions in his heart. HMPH, I didn't expect you to do this, Zhulong Shuang sneered and said using voice transmission. The man from the Solar Dragon race glanced at her without any expressions on his face. It was as if he didn't take her seriously. In the past, you weren't willing to pull him to your side and even look down on him. How do you feel now? Zhulong Shuang didn't mind. There was a smile in her voice as she continued asking. Chapter 37:12 Dragon King Yu and Dragon King Ding. Who is he? We're counting on you. 1. In the past, you were unwilling to pull him over and even look down on him. How do you feel now? Zhulong Yi felt the corners of his eyes twitching uncontrollably when he heard this. He looked at Zhulong Shuang expressionlessly and said coldly, Zhulong Shuang, who allowed you to speak to me like this? This Solar Dragon race martial warrior was Zhulong Shan's elder brother, the counselor of the 7th Stellar Academy Arbitration Association. Are you angry from embarrassment? Zhulong Shuang sneered. We are the talents of the Solar Dragon race. Our own ability is the most important. A mere talent from another race is nothing. Why should I be angry because of him? Zhulong Yi said calmly. You don't mean what you say. If you really didn't care, you wouldn't have paid so much attention to his news. Do you think I can't tell? Zhulong Shuang laughed fearlessly as she spoke using voice transmission. What's more, the eternal-level martial warrior in our race has high hopes for him. We might have to be polite to him now. After all, he's a 7-class saint. We mustn't underestimate him. As if it didn't vent its anger enough, Zhulong Shuang continued teasing him. The muscles on Zhulong Yi's face twitched again. He looked exceptionally funny. Ha ha ha, Zhulong Shuang laughed. She sensed refreshed. Zhulong Yi always acted high and mighty. He just cultivated a few years longer than her and advanced to the universe level before she did, so he didn't take her seriously. Due to the difference in ability, Zhulong Shuang, was suppressed all the time. She felt aggrieved. Finally, she managed to turn the tides. Although she had the help of external forces, this proved that she had a unique vision. Who could say that this wasn't her ability? Who could look down on a 7-class saint? If an eternal-level martial warrior couldn't do it, Zhulong Yi was nothing. She was suddenly anticipating the situation when that fellow appeared. She wondered what Zhulong Yi would do. He's here. At this moment, a shout came out of Great Elder Bayer's mouth. He immediately looked into the distance. Although they had already told Wang Teng the exact coordinates of this place, there was still a certain deviation in this teleportation. No one knew where he would appear. Now, at the spot where Great Elder Byers was talking about, there was a strong space fluctuation sweeping out. The eternal-level martial warriors present sensed something too. They were surprised. They didn't expect him to come. Then he turned vigilant. No one knew what was behind the teleportation. It would be troublesome if it wasn't Wang Teng. All the eternal-level martial warriors were prepared to attack. They stared intently at the emptiness. A buzzing sound was heard. As the space fluctuation spread, strange silver-white runes suddenly appeared in the void. They were occult and formed a rune array. What exquisite ancient runes! Great Elder Byers declared in surprise. As a divine-level rune master, his eyes lit up when he saw the runes that suddenly appeared. Ancient space runes were rare. That was why space teleportation arrays were rare. The rune structure of a normal space array was relatively simple. At the same time, it was made up of the simplest ancient runes. These runes were hard to grasp. In the eyes of a normal rune master, it was an extremely difficult rune. But compared to the ancient runes that appeared in the void, it was still lacking. Even Great Elder Byers, who was at the immortal level, couldn't help but exclaim. Great Elder Dan Chen and Great Elder Tambeli noticed the runes too. They were astounded and sized them up unconsciously. Boom! At this moment, the rune array suddenly lit up with a glaring light. A beam of light shot into the sky. However, when it rose, the space around it suddenly gave off a faint fluctuation, covering up all the fluctuations. From the outside, it was impossible to see the pillar of light rising. Everyone gazed at the pillar of light. They only heaved a sigh of relief when they saw a figure inside. After some time, the beam of light dissipated and a figure stood inside. However, he wasn't in a hurry to walk out of the array. Instead, he released the space power in his body and secured the array that hadn't dispersed. It was etched on the ground below. Boom, an explosion occurred. The entire satellite vibrated. This is array solidification, Great Elder Byers exclaimed in astonishment. Array solidification. Everyone looked at Great Elder Byers curiously when they heard this. Great Elder Byers, what is array solidification? An eternal-level solar dragon race martial warrior asked curiously. Array solidification means that the outline of the array will be fixed during the teleportation, and it will turn into a physical form. This requires extremely powerful spiritual power and space power, Great Elder Byers explained. What? Everyone was astounded. They stared at the array carved on the ground in disbelief. They turned serious when they looked at the extremely young figure in the array again. Many people had only heard of his achievements in the past. Now that they saw a trace of his rune mastery, they couldn't help but feel emotional. Was this the other party's secondary profession talent? Chapter 30, 713 Dragon King Yu and Dragon King Ding. Who is he? We're counting on you. 2. It was astonishing that he was able to reach this stage in his 20s. Also, if the other party's rune mastery was already so high, how high were his other secondary professions? A glimpse discloses a panther. Even the eternal-level martial warriors turned extremely serious when they looked at the figure. They didn't dare to underestimate him anymore. Their doubts disappeared after he appeared. This fellow managed to build a space array in such a short time and reached here successfully. This meant that his plan had started successfully. Even if there were other people hesitating, they couldn't say anything. They could only cooperate with his plan. He had already displayed his ability and proved that he had the ability to execute his plan. Zhuolong Shuang looked at the figure with a complicated expression. Her gaze flickered slightly and she had a strange feeling. She found the figure a little familiar, but at the same time she found it a little unfamiliar. It was a contradiction. Zhuolong Yi's gaze flickered slightly. No one knew what he was thinking. However, when he looked in front, there was a hint of darkness in his eyes. Fortunately, no one noticed him. All their attention was on the figure who walked out of the array. Even a talent from the solar dragon race like Zhuolong Yi paled in comparison in front of this figure. Sigh. Wang Teng stabilized the space teleportation array and heaved a sigh of relief. Either way, he needed more than a day to carve the space array. His time was the most precious now. He mustn't waste any more time. Hence, he used a special method to temporarily stabilize the array. This stabilization was temporary. With his spiritual power and space power, the solidified array would disappear after 1 or 2 uses. It was different from the one he carved on the flaming meteorite. This was the disadvantage of the temporary array. But it was enough. He just needed to get enough ingredients from the solar dragon planet. At that time, he would be able to send the spiritual herbs he received from the flaming meteorite sector to the solar dragon planet. There was no need to think about other things now. He raised his head and glanced around him. He immediately saw the 3 great elders and smiled. He walked out of the array and cupped his fists. Great elders, Wang Teng, Dan Chen, and the other 2 great elders were elated to see him. They nodded at him and lamented. Good, it's great that you're back. Good riddance, we were right about you. Great Elder Tambeli strode forward and patted Wang Teng's shoulder. Great Elder Tambeli, be gentle. My small body won't be able to handle your strength. Wang Teng smiled and said. Great Elder Tambeli was stunned. He didn't know if he should laugh or cry. Typical Wang Teng. Everyone was astounded when they saw Wang Teng chatting happily with the 3 great elders as if they were his family. Zhuolong Shuang was astounded when she saw this scene. She had long listened that the secondary career alliance had high hopes for Wang Teng. Today, she finally understood how high their hopes were. They were treating him like one of their own. Even some old saint-level martial warriors didn't have this face in front of these great elders, right? Zhuolong Yi was astounded. His gaze turned even more sinister. He didn't expect Wang Teng to have such a position in the secondary career alliance's headquarters. It was funny that he thought that he could look down on this person because he was a counselor of the Stellar Academy Arbitration Association. However, the other party slapped him forcefully with his actions. The other party wasn't just a counselor of the Academy Arbitration Association. His status was on par with his, and he had an unparalleled position in the secondary career alliance's headquarters. Zhuolong Yi also heard that the other party received a God Stage contract from the Virtual Universe Corporation. The combination of these identities was like a huge shadow that shrouded Zhuolong Yi. His light seemed a little small in front of his opponent. For no reason, Zhuolong Yi felt a strong sense of unwillingness. He was a talent from the Solar Dragon race and the Stellar Academy. He had once suppressed all the talents. Wang Teng was just a freshman. How could he be compared to him? The first time Zhuolong Yi heard the other party's name was from Zhuolong Shan. To him, the conflict between the other party and Zhuolong Shan was nothing. It was just a small fight between freshmen. Later, when Zhuolong Shuang suggested to pull him over, he didn't care. He felt that there was no need to do so. Even after the other party established the Constellation Society and defeated all the talents in the freshman battle, he still felt that it was nothing. The difference in ability was obvious. At that time, he was already a universe stage martial warrior while the other party had just advanced to the cosmos realm. What was there to compare? Nothing at all. He felt that comparing himself with the other party was demeaning. But now he had unknowingly compared himself to the other party. The result was even more outrageous. He was surpassed by the other party. This was atrocious. Now, when he saw the other party chatting happily with the three great elders from the Secondary Career Alliance's headquarters, and even the eternal-level solar dragon race taking the initiative to talk to them, he suddenly felt the sorrow of being abandoned. Chapter 30, 714 Dragon King Yu and Dragon King Ding. Who is he? We're counting on you. 3. A small figure in Zhulong Yi's mind shook his head and threw this strange thought away. His pride wouldn't allow him to have this strange feeling. As a universe-level martial warrior, he had absolute confidence in Wang Teng. The other party's martial arts ability was definitely lower than his. Wang Teng exchanged some greetings with the three great elders. Just as he was about to ask them about the materials they needed for the array, a voice was suddenly heard from the side. Saint Wang Teng, I've heard a lot about you. An eternal-level solar dragon race martial warrior walked over and smiled at him. May I know who you are? Wang Teng asked in surprise. His gaze flickered slightly when he saw the other party's obvious features. This is Dragon King Yu from the solar dragon race. Zhulong Yu, an eternal stage duke, Great Elder Dan Chen introduced. Dragon King Yu Long, an eternal stage duke. Wang Teng was slightly shocked. He didn't act arrogantly and bowed slightly. Greetings, senior. Saint Wang Teng, there's no need to be so polite. As fellow saints, we don't have to be so courteous to each other. Zhulong Yu smiled and said. Wang Teng smiled. He didn't take it seriously. He might be a saint-level martial warrior, but he was still too weak in front of an eternal-level martial warrior. What's more, the other party was an eternal stage duke. Normal eternal stage martial warriors couldn't be compared to him. Hence, Wang Teng shouldn't be arrogant. A hint of respect was enough. At least this would allow him to have enough convenience in many situations. He was much stronger than a normal Heaven Stage martial warrior. Not every Heaven Stage martial warrior could receive such treatment in front of an eternal-level martial warrior. Sometimes, you need to understand yourself. If he offended someone he shouldn't, he wouldn't even know how he died. Wang Teng might seem like a fearless person, but if you looked at him carefully, you would realize that behind all his risky actions, he had carefully contemplated everything before he made his decision. Also, he always prepared a path of retreat for himself so that he wouldn't die a terrible death. The muscles on Zhulong Yi's face twitched uncontrollably when he saw this scene. If the eternal-level ancestor regarded Wang Teng as his peer, what would Zhulong Yi be? That's right. With Wang Teng's secondary career, he will be treated with respect wherever he goes. The solar dragon race is no exception. Another powerful martial warrior from the solar dragon race said. Wang Teng turned his head uncontrollably. Another solar dragon race martial warrior walked over with a smile. He looked amiable. This is the Dragon King Ding of the solar dragon race, Zhulong Ding. He's an eternal stage duke too, Great Elder Dan Chen introduced. Good riddance, another eternal stage martial warrior. When did eternal stage martial warriors become so common? Wang Teng was dumbfounded. At first, he thought that there would only be formidable warriors from the Secondary Career Alliance's headquarters on the solar dragon planet. He didn't expect three great elders to come personally. Even two eternal stage martial warriors from the solar dragon planet came. He also sensed a few powerful auras when he looked around just now. They were probably eternal-level presences. Wang Teng saluted again. He was thorough. Dragon King Yu seemed a little unhappy when he saw the eternal stage duke speaking. He glanced at him and suddenly smiled at Wang Teng. Speaking about it, Saint Wang Teng has a good relationship with the solar dragon race. What do you mean? Wang Teng was surprised. You helped us to snatch a universe-level body from the dark apparitions, Zhulong Yu lamented. Wang Teng was enlightened. This was what the other party was referring to. He was caught between laughter and tears. When he first took the body, he was still worried that the solar dragon race would find him for trouble. Even when the solar dragon race asked Zhulongshan to take the solar dragon race's body, he didn't show any mercy, as if he was certain that he would get it. Now the other party was thanking Wang Teng for returning the body. The difference was huge. It perceived unreal. The world was unpredictable. However, he also understood that the reason why the solar dragon race was so easy to talk to was because of his current status. The 7-class saint title was really useful. It glanced like he made the right move by displaying his ability and talent during the exchange event at the Secondary Career Alliance's headquarters. Without this identity, he wouldn't be able to execute his plan successfully. After all, who would believe a nobody? As for the solar dragon race, if he didn't have this identity and didn't gain the attention of the Secondary Career Alliance's headquarters, they wouldn't have mentioned this body, much less use it as an excuse to build a relationship with him. Zhulong Ding felt the corners of his lips twitching. He felt that Zhulong Yu was a little shameless. How could he use this matter to make connections? Back in the solar dragon race, many people felt that they should use force on Wang Teng to confirm that he hadn't analyzed the body of the solar dragon race. If he remembered correctly, Zhulong Yu agreed. If they didn't inspect the body and confirmed that it hadn't been analyzed by anyone, they wouldn't be so polite to Wang Teng. After all, he was part of the Stellar Academy. But now that Zhulong Yu had revealed this matter, he couldn't expose him. Could he tell Wang Teng that they were planning to capture him for interrogation? Chapter 30, 715 Dragon King Yu and Dragon King Ding. Who is he? We're counting on you. 4. That would definitely offend him. It looks like Saint Wang Teng's martial arts ability is not bad. He managed to snatch the universe-level body of our race from a high-tier devil emperor. No wonder he was able to enter the Stellar Academy, Zhulong Ding praised. Wang Teng. He felt that these solar dragon race martial warriors were terrible at flattering. He was the one getting praised. He felt a little awkward. Oh right, this is my race's Zhulong Shuang. You should know each other. Zhulong Yu suddenly waved at Zhulong Shuang and grinned at Wang Teng. Zhulong Shuang, Wang Teng faced and was surprised. Why are you here? The solar dragon territorial domain is my hometown. After what happened, I have to come back. Zhulong Shuang was stunned when she heard the solar dragon race elder calling her. Then she walked over and smiled. Wang Teng nodded. He was just surprised to see an old friend from the Stellar Academies. After all, the other talents were still on their way, but Zhulong Shuang had already reached the solar dragon planet. She was much faster than the others. Zhulong Yi is back too. Zhulong Shuang signaled with her eyes and suddenly spoke using voice transmission. Zhulong Yi, Wang Teng was stunned. He found the name a little familiar. Zhulong Yi, come over. Zhulong Ding didn't back down and shouted. Zhulong Yi's expression changed. However, when he saw Zhulong Ding's unquestionable gaze, he had no choice but to walk over helplessly. He didn't want to see Wang Teng now, but the Zhulong Ding still wanted him to come. It looked like she was determined to build a good relationship with Wang Teng. Zhulong Yi is at the 7th Stellar Academy just like you. There might be some misunderstandings between the two of you, but it will be fine once they are resolved. Zhulong Ding's smile turned extremely serious when he turned to Zhulong Yi. He uttered calmly, Zhulong Yi, express remorse to Saint Wang Teng. You went a little overboard earlier. At the %, Zhulong Yi's expression turned ugly. He wanted to curse. Zhulong Shuang was overjoyed when she saw his expression. Zhulong Yi had never been so frustrated before, right? This felt refreshing. She knew that the other party wouldn't have a good ending after meeting Wang Teng. However, she didn't expect Zhulong Ding to disregard his reputation and ask him to apologize directly. With Zhulong Yi's pride, how could he bear with this? The three great elders were surprised. They didn't understand what happened between them. But from the looks of it, Wang Teng had some grudges with this Solar Dragon Race Jr. Wait. Wang Teng couldn't help but ask, who is he? Zhulong Yi's expression changed. His face turned red instantly. This was caused by the blood rushing to his head. He didn't expect Wang Teng to look down on him. The guy didn't even remember his name. This was a great humiliation. Someone whom he looked down on in the past didn't even care about him. What the FK? Zhulong Shuang's expression was strange. She wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. She was having a hard time holding it in. She wasn't afraid of Zhulong Yi. If only Zhulong Yi was here, she would have laughed until she couldn't straighten her back. She wouldn't have any qualms. But with the elders of the Solar Dragon race present, she didn't dare to cause trouble. No matter what, Zhulong Yi was a talent of the Solar Dragon race. If she laughed now, it would be a humiliation to him. She would be trampling on the dignity of the Solar Dragon race in front of outsiders. You don't know him. Zhulong Ding blinked and looked at Wang Teng in surprise. Zhulong Yi. I think I've heard of this name before, but I can't remember it. Wang Teng glanced at Zhulong Yi and replied calmly. You. Anger almost shot out of Zhulong Yi's eyes. If the eternal-level martial warriors weren't present, he would have attacked Wang Teng. Zhulong Ding felt that he made a huge mistake. It was true that they had some grudges, but from Wang Teng's tone, it wasn't hard to tell that he had never seen Zhulong Yi. They didn't even know each other. This was awkward. Cough. Zhulong Shuang coughed awkwardly and reminded him. He's Zhulong Shan's elder brother, a counselor of the Stellar Academy Arbitration Association. Oh, Wang Teng was enlightened. You could have said that earlier. He immediately smiled at the other party. So you're the elder brother of Zhulong Shan. It's my honor to meet you. Zhulong Shuang was speechless. She couldn't tell if this fellow did it on purpose. If there was a level for acting, this fellow would be perfect. Zhulong Yi was probably fuming in anger. However, he couldn't do anything to Wang Teng. He wondered if he would get internal injuries from anger. The people around them didn't know what grudges Wang Teng had with Zhulong Yi, but from their conversation, it wasn't hard to tell that Wang Teng didn't know him. Everyone's expression turned strange. Zhulong Yi wished he could bury himself in a hole. It's my honor to meet you. To hell with honor. He was the talent of the Solar Dragon race. However, in Wang Teng's eyes, he was just the elder brother of Zhulong Shan. He didn't even have a proper name. It was no different from a code name. This situation exceeded his expectation. He thought that he would feel a little awkward when facing Wang Teng, but he didn't expect this to happen. Chapter 30, 716 Dragon King Yu and Dragon King Ding. Who is he? We're counting on you. 5. Do you really not remember me? Zhulong Yi stared intently at Wang Teng's face as if he wanted to see something from his expression. However, the other party's face was filled with innocence. It was as if he didn't know his name. Ha ha ha, Zhulong Ding laughed. Saint Wang Teng is indeed broad-minded. He didn't take this small conflict to heart at all. This is just a small fight between the younger generations. It's not worth mentioning, Wang Teng sniggered. That's right, it's just a small matter. It's not worth mentioning. Zhulong Ding thought that he didn't take it to heart and smiled happily. All right, all right. The three great elders couldn't bear to watch any more and interrupted them. They said sternly, time waits for no man. Elders, please pass the materials you need to carve the array to Wang Teng. Great. Zhulong Ding and Zhulong Yu turned serious when they talked about business. They nodded and took out a space ring. These are the ingredients you need to carve the fire element array. We have collected them according to your requirements. There are even some extras. It's enough for you to fail 2 to 3 times. However, some of the ingredients are very precious, so we only have time to collect one set of ingredients. You need to be careful. If you fail, I'm afraid. Zhuolong Yu reminded him, but he didn't finish his sentence. Wang Teng understood what he meant. He turned serious and nodded slightly. They said that he had 2 or 3 chances, but there was only one chance. He mustn't be careless. The difficulty increased again. Wang Teng shook his head secretly. He grabbed the space ring and used his spiritual power to inspect it. After confirming that there was nothing missing, he cupped his fists and said, "Since the materials are all here, I won't stay any longer. The dark apparitions will be here soon. I need to go back to the flaming meteorite planetary sector immediately. Bring the talents from the solar dragon race along. The more people there are, the higher our chances of winning," Zhuolong Yu suddenly said. Wang Teng couldn't help but look at Zhuolong Shuang and Zhuolong Yi. There were also a few talents from the solar dragon race behind them. Their auras weren't weak. "Great," he nodded and went back to the space teleportation array. Zhuolong Yi and the others followed him. Fortunately, the solar dragon race didn't send many talents this time. Otherwise, the space teleportation array Wang Teng carved wouldn't be enough to transport so many people. Boom! The next instant, a strange space power surged out of Wang Teng's body and merged into the space teleportation array below him. The ancient runes on the array lit up and spread in all directions. In an instant, they covered the entire array and turned into pillars of light that shot into the sky. "We can't spare more manpower. We can only rely on you now." The 3 great elders looked at Wang Teng sternly and cupped their fists. The other martial warriors cupped their fists and stared intently at Wang Teng. There was a tinge of hope in their eyes. "I'll do my best." Wang Teng was stunned. Then he cupped his fists at the people outside the array. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, the figure in the pillar of light disappeared under the influence of the space power. The 3 great elders looked at the array that hadn't dissipated completely. They remained silent for a long time. There was a hint of worry on their faces, but there was also a hint of anticipation. "Is this Saint Wang Teng someone with the space talent?" Zhuolong Yu asked after a moment of silence. "I think so," Great Elder Dan Chen replied with uncertainty. Actually, all the powerful martial warriors present could tell that Wang Teng possessed the space talent. If not, he wouldn't be able to use the space teleportation array casually. Normal rune masters wouldn't be able to do this. Normal rune masters would need space crystals if they wanted to use this teleportation array. This was an extremely rare and precious crystal. Otherwise, space teleportation arrays wouldn't be so rare. Only some powerful factions were able to carve the space teleportation array and use it under certain circumstances. The solar dragon race had a space teleportation array, but they couldn't use it as easily as Wang Teng, much less teleport to the solar dragon planet. "The talent of Saint Wang Teng is indeed astonishing," Zhuolong Yu exclaimed. He became more and more determined to pull Wang Teng to his side. Not only was Wang Teng's secondary profession talent astonishing, but his martial arts talent was also exceptionally powerful. Even the Virtual Universe Corporation gave him a God Stage contract to bind to him. The Solar Dragon race had no reason not to pull Wang Teng over. What's more, his bloodline had already gained an advantage. This was all thanks to Zhuolong Shuang. She had good taste in this area, much better than Zhuolong Yi. Zhuolong Yu couldn't help but glance at the Zhuolong Ding. He wanted to laugh in his heart. HMPH. Zhuolong Ding observed his provocative gaze and snorted. Then he pivoted and left. The 3 great elders wobbled their heads when they saw this. They didn't want to interfere in the internal affairs of the solar dragon race. However, in this situation, they hoped that those people wouldn't cause trouble over such a small matter. On the other side, Wang Teng brought Zhuolong Yi and the others back to the flaming meteorite. Zhuolong Yi, Zhuolong Shuang, and the others looked around them in surprise. This planetary sector might be in the Solar Dragon territorial domain of the Solar Dragon territorial domain, but this was their first time here. Is there anything you need us to do? Zhulong Shuang sized up her surroundings before turning to ask Wang Teng. You'd better wait outside the flaming meteorite planetary sector. The talents from the other factions will arrive soon, Wang Teng said calmly. Chapter 30, 717. How can you be rude to me? There's something wrong with your brain. A slave of the devil mind race. 1. All right. Zhulong Shuang nodded immediately after hearing Wang Teng's words. HMPH. At this moment a cold snort came from the side. Zhulong Yi said coldly, we will decide how the Solar Dragon race should act. There's no need for others to interfere. Whatever, as long as you don't affect my formation. Wang Teng glanced at him and continued calmly, if not, don't blame me for being impolite. Impolite? Zhulong Yi seemed to have heard a funny joke. He mocked, you're just a Cosmos stage martial warrior. How can you be impolite to me? If someone was extremely powerful, they might be able to see Wang Teng's true stage without him concealing himself. However, under normal circumstances, Wang Teng would hide his aura and not leak it out. On the other hand, Zhulong Yi was just a martial warrior at the 3rd level of the universe level. How could he see his current ability? That was why he always thought that Wang Teng was still a Cosmos stage martial warrior. After all, only a short time had passed since Wang Teng went missing. He wouldn't have thought that Wang Teng was able to advance from the Cosmos realm to the Heaven realm. He had even reached the 6th level of the Heaven realm for his fire constellation force. No matter how talented a martial warrior was, he would need many years or even tens of years to advance from the Cosmos realm to the Heaven realm. The accumulation of force in the early stages was all right, but the process of breaking through from the Cosmos realm to the Heaven Lord stage wasn't easy. Many martial warriors got stuck at this stage for tens of years. To a martial warrior, there was a huge gap between every 2 major realms. Zhulong Shuang noticed the tense atmosphere between the two of them. Indeed, there was no way they could reconcile. Both Wang Teng and Zhulong Yi were extremely proud people. They wouldn't pretend that nothing had happened just because of Elder Zhulong Ding's words. She couldn't help but worry for Wang Teng. He might have worked many miracles and astounded many people, but his ability was still lacking. Compared to Zhulong Yi, who had been famous for a long time, he was still too young. His stage was much lower. There was no one here to support Wang Teng now. If he had a conflict with Zhulong Yi, he would be the one suffering. Zhulong Yi, don't forget our business. We came to help Saint Wang Teng. Zhulong Shuang opened her mouth and said. She emphasized the word saint, hoping that Zhulong Yi wouldn't act rashly. What's more, in this situation, the Solar Dragon race needed to rely on Wang Teng's saint-level rune mastery to carve the saint-level array and resist the invasion of dark apparitions. That way, the spiritual herbs could reach the Solar Dragon planet successfully. Zhulong Yi's expression changed slightly when he heard this. He glanced at Zhulong Shuang grimly and ignored Wang Teng. He turned into a beam of light and shot into the sky. Let's go, his voice was heard. Many talents from the Solar Dragon race exchanged glances with one another and followed him out of the flaming meteorite. Some talents from the Solar Dragon race looked at Zhulong Shuang. They were talents from Zhulong Shuang's line, so they naturally listened to her. I'm leaving too. Contact me if you need anything. Zhulong Shuang tapped her wristwatch and looked at Wang Teng. Go ahead. Wang Teng nodded. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Many figures turned into rays of light and soared into the sky. They rushed out of the flaming meteorite's range and flew towards the emptiness in the distance. Wang Teng's eyes lit up. He didn't care about Zhulong Yi anymore. If Zhulong Shuang hadn't spoken in time, he might have acted. A martial warrior at the 3rd stage universe level and below was nothing. It would be best if Zhulong Yi didn't provoke him. If he did, he would let the other party know that even if his stage wasn't as high, he could still let him experience pain. Wang Teng sat down cross-legged on the ground and waved his hand. Oars flew out from the space ring the solar dragon race gave him and floated in the air. There were many oars. Some were like a small mountain while others were like a giant python more than 10 feet long. It was astonishing. If he wanted to carve a saint-level array, he needed many materials. This was especially so for a large-scale array. It covered a wide range of areas, so it required more materials than a small-scale array. When Wang Teng carved the array in the Bloodlust Sea, it was considered small. It was many times smaller than the array he was preparing to carve in the Flaming Meteorite Planetary Sector. Flaming Meteorite Heaven Fire Array. Wang Teng's gaze flickered. The outline of a huge array appeared in his mind. There were many occult and complicated flame patterns carved on it, giving off scorching and terrifying fluctuations. This was the array he asked Round Ball to find in the Secondary Career Alliance's headquarters. It was the most suitable for this place. However, he only studied it briefly and felt that he could carve it. Hence, he decided to carve this saint-level array immediately. Now that he was going to start carving, he needed to study it carefully to prevent any mistakes. Wang Teng closed his eyes and scanned the outline of the array with his spiritual power. He etched every single rune in his mind. This array. After some time, Wang Teng opened his eyes abruptly. An anxious and doubtful glint flashed past his eyes. Chapter 37:18 How can you be rude to me? There's something wrong with your brain. A slave of the devil mind race. 2. He could tell that this was a saint-level first calamity array. But because of this, with his current mastery and the ancient runes he possessed, he could see many weaknesses in this array. Those weaknesses might be the key to breaking the array. Don't look down on dark apparitions. There might be outstanding rune masters among the dark apparitions. Even if they weren't saint-level rune masters, as long as there was a grandmaster-level rune master among them, they would be able to find the weakness of the array. This wasn't what Wang Teng wanted to see. Since he was going to do it, he must make sure that nothing went wrong. He was the one who came up with this plan. The Virtual Universe Corporation, the Secondary Career Alliance headquarters, and the Stellar Academy trusted him unconditionally and chose to support him. He couldn't place his bet on the possibility of accidents not happening. Wang Teng, what's wrong? Round Ball had been paying attention to the situation outside and noticed Wang Teng's expression. It couldn't help but ask. It was the one who helped him to find this array. Looking at Wang Teng's expression, he didn't seem satisfied. It wondered what went wrong. There's a small problem with this array. Wang Teng immediately told Round Ball his discovery. No way, Round Ball was puzzled. This is a saint-level array. Even if it's just one calamity, ordinary people won't be able to find its weakness. Also, even if it has a certain weakness, the dark apparitions won't be able to discover it and destroy the array, right? It trusted Wang Teng, but this was a little absurd. The appearance of a saint-level array required many rune masters to study and deduce for a long time, before it was finally completed. The weaknesses of rune arrays were almost always the result of countless calculations and perfections by rune masters. They were negligible. Wang Teng's rune mastery was only at the saint level recently. How could he find these weaknesses clearly? Even if he found the array's weakness, he felt that Wang Teng was a little too worried. Not everyone was as monstrous as him. We mustn't make any mistakes. Wang Teng shook his head. What do you want to do? Round Ball asked helplessly when it saw Wang Teng persevering. This array seems to have the same effect as my flaming magnetic meteor domain. Wang Teng's eyes shimmered. He suddenly uttered something out of the blue. Actually, he had already noticed this when he was conversing with Round Ball. He had been thinking about this question the entire time. This saint-level array referred to the flaming meteor Heaven Fire array was similar to his flaming magnetic meteor domain. Their usage of strength was almost the same. This allowed him to find a way to fix the array's weakness. Under normal circumstances, Fixing the weakness of a saint-level array was a fool's dream. However, since Wang Teng had an idea and found a way to repair it in his familiar domain, it was much easier. What do you mean? Round Ball was stunned. It looked at Wang Teng in confusion. Maybe I can improve this array, Wang Teng said. What? You want to improve this array? Are you crazy? Time is tight. How can the enemy give you the time to improve it? Round Ball was flabbergasted. There should be enough time. I'll carve the runes while improving them, Wang Teng replied. You're crazy. This idea is too crazy. It will increase your failure rate, Round Ball said. I have to try. Wang Teng's eyes were shimmering. This was the greatest obsession of a rune array master. Even in the most dangerous and emergency situations, his confidence and beliefs wouldn't be shaken. If he couldn't even face such difficulties, he wouldn't be able to become a rune master anymore. He wouldn't have the confidence to advance to the immortal level in the future. Round Ball didn't know what to say. It knew that it couldn't persuade Wang Teng, so it felt helpless. Wang Teng ignored it and closed his eyes. He wanted to do a deduction. Although he had to carve the arrays and improve them at the same time, he still had to deduce everything in advance to prevent any huge mistakes. After all, he only had one chance. Let him try. I've seen many divine-level martial warriors. They have the same stubbornness. Isith suddenly emerged beside Round Ball and glanced at Wang Teng with a complicated expression. She spoke to him using voice transmission. Round Ball sighed. It felt complicated. It understood why it was still a blacksmith at the peak of the Grandmaster level after such a long time. As an intelligent life form, it was a little too rational. It wasn't that rationality was bad, but in some areas, intelligence was more crucial than reason, especially for secondary professionals. Round Ball was enlightened. It looked at Isith and asked, "Do you think he can succeed?" "I don't know," Isith replied calmly. "Why are you still supporting his decision?" Round Ball was still surprised. "But I love to see him working miracles." Isith suddenly smiled. Round Ball was stunned. It asked carefully, "Are you the host soul or the soul fragment?" "What's the difference?" Isith glanced at him coldly and asked. Chapter 37:19 How can you be rude to me? There's something wrong with your brain, a slave of the devil mind race. 3. No, of course. Round Ball shrunk its head. It didn't dare to probe further. It couldn't afford to offend this lady. While Wang Teng was fixing the flaming meteorite Heaven Fire array, spacecrafts were flying towards the Solar Dragon territorial domain at high speed. Behind these spacecrafts, there were many dark apparition warships too. There was a thick dark aura around the warships, giving off an evil and eerie aura. Wherever they went, the starry sky would be tainted by the dark force, turning a little eerie. Damn it! How did these dark apparitions discover us? They have been chasing us for a long time. We can't get rid of them. Even if we enter the flaming meteorite planetary sector, will we be able to get rid of them? I hope that the flaming meteorite planetary sector has a trump card left by the Solar Dragon race. If not, we will have to fight to the death with the dark apparitions. I don't know what the higher authorities are thinking. They're actually gathering us in the flaming meteorite planetary sector. Isn't this giving the dark apparitions a chance to catch us all? That's right. Based on the original plan, even if we can't send all the spiritual herbs over, we can ensure that some of them will be sent over. If we are surrounded by dark apparitions, we might not be able to send any spiritual herbs to Solar Dragon Planet. Voices were heard from the spacecrafts. They had already contacted each other because there was no need to hide anymore. They had already been discovered by the dark apparitions. All the talents from the different factions were anxious. Some even complained. Along the way, many spacecrafts were destroyed by the dark apparitions, and many talents died. The ability of these dark apparitions made people feel despair. However, not everyone was afraid of dark apparitions. They were just transporting spiritual herbs, so they couldn't fight with the dark apparitions freely. They could only charge towards the flaming meteorite planetary sector first. At the same time, the talents from the dark apparition races were having a party. They chased after the human geniuses frantically like hunters chasing their prey. Although they hadn't caught up, they weren't in a hurry. They seemed to be waiting for their prey to make one last struggle. The vampire dark apparitions led by the blood god clone were pursuing the talents from the light universe too. They drove the coffin warship and followed behind calmly. They seemed more relaxed than the other dark apparitions. The blood god clone sat cross-legged on the vampire warship. He opened his eyes slightly and looked at the map of the universe. This was the map of the 3 territorial domains. At the same time, the locations of the dark apparition spacecrafts and the spacecrafts of the talents in the light universe were also shown. Everyone's route was clearly displayed on the screen. They were getting closer and closer to the flaming meteorite planetary sector. Blood Sun. After the blood god clone woke up, Zarosa walked over and said, "We will reach the flaming meteorite planetary sector in less than 2 days." Less than 2 days. The blood god clone blinked and nodded. He didn't show it on his face, but he was frowning in his heart. The time was too short. His main body might not have enough time. He must do something. "Contact the talents from the other dark apparitions for me," the blood god clone said immediately as his mind worked furiously. "Contact the talents from the other dark apparitions," Zarosa queried curiously. "What do you want to do?" The other vampire dark apparitions were attracted by Wang Teng's words too. They opened their eyes and glanced over. "You'll know later." A crimson glow flashed past the blood god clone's eyes. He smiled calmly and continued, "Since they want to play, I'll play a bigger game with them." Everyone got interested when they heard this. During this period of time, the blood god clone didn't seem to be in a hurry to chase after the talents from the light universe. This made the vampire talents anxious. They wanted to kill all the talents in the light universe and suck their blood. If it wasn't for their trust and respect for the blood god clone, many people would have left alone like Zakiro, Zanoski, and Zakins. What's more, the Devil Titan ordered the blood god clone and devil mind races Xiaojai to kill more than 100 talents from the light universe. They didn't know the situation on Xiaojai's side, but the blood god clone didn't kill a single talent from the light universe. He couldn't be compared to him. Xiaojai was extremely powerful. They assumed that not many talents from the light universe were his match. If the blood god clone didn't act, he would lose to his opponent. To vampire talents, their race's honor was paramount. They hoped that the blood god clone could defeat Xiaojai from the devil mind race. Hence, Zarosa immediately contacted the talents from the other dark apparitions. After some time, rays of light appeared in front of the blood god clone. There were the spiritual bone race, the devil armor race, the giant devil race, the sheephead devil race, the devil moth race, the lazy mist race, the phantasma race, the devil rock race, and even the devil mind race. At a glance, it looked like a group of devils dancing in the air. The devilish aura was eerie and it dazzled everyone's eyes. If the talents in the light universe saw this scene, they would be flabbergasted. Chapter 37:20 How can you be rude to me? There's something wrong with your brain. A slave of the devil mind race. 4. The appearance of so many dark apparitions was enough to astound the martial warriors in the light universe. Normal martial warriors might be scared out of their wits. After all, these dark apparition talents were at least at the high-tier devil emperor level. Even through the screen, one could still feel the powerful aura and the dark and evil aura they exuded. Vampire Blood Sun, why are you looking for me? A cold and indifferent voice came out of the mouth of a dark apparition shrouded in black mist. This was a dark apparition from the phantasma race. No one could see its appearance clearly. This race had always been mysterious and could hide themselves in illusions. They could take different forms in front of others and disrupt others' investigation. However, Wang Teng had seen a phantasma dark apparition before. When he was on Earth, a phantasma devil lord dark apparition got killed and revealed its true appearance. Wang Teng saw it. The phantasma dark apparition gazed strange. Its head was slightly longer than normal and it looked like a snake. However, it wasn't exactly a snake. There were horns on its head and scales covering its body. In summary, it was extremely ugly and indescribable. It suited the characteristics of a dark apparition. Wang Teng had seen a lady from the phantasma race when he was at the 4th level of the Darkland. Honestly, he didn't dare to compliment her. He would vomit if he saw her. He wondered why the dark apparitions were interested in the girls from this race. No wonder they loved the unusual. No, the aesthetics of the living creatures in the light universe and the dark apparitions were entirely different. The blood god clone raised his head and looked at the phantasma dark apparition. Crimson light flashed past his eyes and the dark apparition on the screen started to feel fearful. Then he opened his mouth and said, "First, thank you for giving me face and appearing personally." Ha ha ha. The devil mind dark apparition, Xiao laughed strangely. "I just came to see how many talents from the light universe you have killed. But I heard that you didn't do anything. Many vampires left your troops and went out to hunt alone. Looks like you're not very powerful as a vampire bloodson." The vampire talents in the vampire warship glared at him. HMPH, the blood god clone, didn't mind. He snorted and said, "Are you paying attention to the vampires? Are you afraid that we will surpass the devil mind race?" "Afraid?" Xiao laughed. "I've been around for so long, but I still don't know how to spell it." "That means that you didn't learn all the words. You're illiterate," the blood god clone said. "The dark apparitions. The vampire talents, Xiao FK, I uttered that I don't know what fear is. Why are you saying that I'm illiterate? Is there something wrong with your brain?" He knew that this fellow was infuriating, but he couldn't control his anger. The problem was he didn't know how to refute. There was no way to refute. "Let's get down to business. Why are you looking for us?" the phantasma race dark apparition asked. "We will arrive in the flaming meteorite planetary sector soon," the blood god clone said calmly. "Are you interested in a hunting competition?" The dark apparitions were interested. "That's right. Use the flaming meteorite planetary sector as a hunting ground and start hunting there. Let's see who kills the most talents in the light universe." The blood god clone smiled and said, "This is interesting." The eyes of the dark apparitions lit up. "You mean we should let them reach the flaming meteorite planetary sector?" a sheephead devil race dark apparition asked. This sheephead devil apparition was one of the 3 dark apparitions that the blood god clone left alive in the past. The blood god clone had planted the enchantment seed in this dark apparition, so it naturally listened to his order and revealed the blood god clone's real intention. Among all the dark apparitions, the devil moth race, the sheephead devil race, and the giant devil race belonged to him. However, the talents from the other races thought that they had a grudge, so they didn't suspect anything. This was the spies who infiltrated his enemy's base. It felt exciting just thinking about it. "That's right." The blood god clone didn't even look at the sheephead devil race talent. He affirmed indifferently, "Since the talents from the light universe are gathering in the flaming meteorite planetary sector, they must have left some trump cards there. If we let them enter the flaming meteorite planetary sector, they might run away." A lazy mist dark apparition hesitated and said, "That will depend on your ability." The blood god clone said calmly with a proud expression as if victory was in his grasp. Many dark apparitions were unhappy when they saw his expression. They sneered. "Why won't we dare to do what the vampire blood son dares to do?" The devil moth dark apparitions took over the conversation and sneered. "That's right. You're just a mid-tier devil emperor. How can we be weaker than you?" The giant devil race dark apparition opened his mouth and said. They gazed as if they had a grudge against the blood god clone. All the dark apparitions around him believed it. They had to believe it. Those people had a huge grudge. Ha ha, the more difficult, the more interesting. Xiao Jai from the Devil Mind race laughed strangely. Zhu Ju, our duel isn't over, let's start from here. Chapter 37:21 How can you be rude to me? There's something wrong with your brain, a slave of the Devil Mind race. 5. Since you want to fight with me, I'll fulfill your wish, the Blood God clone replied calmly. If you lose, I want you to kneel kowtow and admit your mistake. Also, hand over your body, Xiao Jai suddenly said in a cold voice. You want me to kneel kowtow and admit my mistake, and you want me to hand over my body. The Blood God clone seemed to have heard something absurd. You have a good plan, you want to get my body so easily. The other dark apparitions were flabbergasted too. This Xiao Jai was daring. He dared to lay his eyes on the vampire blood son's body. You don't dare, Xiao Jai sneered. Why wouldn't I? The Blood God clone sniggered. However, there's no corresponding stake. Why should I agree? I will not lose, Xiao Jai responded calmly. What a joke. Are you sure you will win? What's there to compare then? Why don't you just admit defeat and hand over your body? The Blood God clone mocked. I think there's something wrong with your brain. Do you think I'm stupid? The talented dark apparitions glanced at Xiao Jai strangely. Is there something wrong with your brain? This guy had a sharp tongue. He was a talent from the Devil Mind race, but he got humiliated like this. Only the vampire blood son would dare to say this. However, they had to admit that what the Blood God clone said made sense. He wanted others to kneel and kowtow to him, but he didn't want to make any bets. This wasn't a good thing. The vampire blood son wasn't stupid. Many dark apparitions had a deep grudge against the Devil Mind race. They just didn't dare to offend them normally. Thus, when they saw Xiao Jai getting scolded, they were happy to watch the show. If I lose, I will kneel down and kowtow to you. Xiao Jai was covered with a black robe. A pair of cold eyes shot out from under the hood as he glared at the Blood God clone. Not enough, the Blood God clone replied calmly. What else do you want? Xiao Jai asked impatiently. If you lose, not only will you kneel and kowtow to me, but you will also hand over the origin of soul flame and become my slave. You will be my slave forever, the Blood God clone said. You're looking for death. Xiao Jai was infuriated. Someone dared to make Devil Mind dark apparitions his slaves. This was unprecedented. The other dark apparitions were flabbergasted too. They gazed at the Blood God clone in disbelief. This fellow was audacious. He dared to make the Devil Mind race his slave. Even if it was just a casual remark, it was atrocious. Wasn't he afraid that the Devil Mind dark apparitions would take revenge on him? If you want my body, I'll make you my slave. That's fair, the Blood God clone said. Xiao Jai, the talented dark apparitions, they were speechless. They felt that what the Blood God clone uttered made sense. If Xiao Jai didn't make such an outrageous request first, the vampire blood son wouldn't be so bold. Xiao Jai stared at the Blood God clone for a long time with his sinister eyes under the hood. Suddenly, he laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, very good. If you want to bet, I'll accompany you to the end." The dark apparitions were in disbelief. They didn't expect Xiao Jai to agree. That's great. The Blood God clone nodded in satisfaction. You heard it, be our witness. I hope that the Devil Mind race won't go back on his words after he loses. Ha ha ha, the Phantasma dark apparition laughed. Interesting, very interesting, I'm happy to be your witness. Huan Shenao, you're looking for death. Xiao Jai looked at the Phantasma dark apparition and said in a cold voice, You were the one who wanted to gamble. What does it have to do with me? Huan Shenao wasn't afraid at all. He sneered and said, If you want to find trouble with me, you must have found the wrong person. Other people might be afraid of you, but I'm not. Very good. I hope that you can still smile when you reach the flaming meteorite planetary sector. Xiao Jai glanced at him. Then his gaze landed on the Blood God clone. The flaming meteorite planetary sector will be here soon. I'll wait for you to kowtow and admit your mistake. Wait. The blood god clone suddenly stopped him. "What's the matter?" Xiaojai asked impatiently. "To be safe, let's sign a spiritual contract in case someone regrets his decision because he can't afford to lose." The blood god clone touched his chin. "Bastard!" Xiaojai was infuriated. He glared at the blood god clone as if he was humiliated. "Am I a sore loser? You don't dare to sign the spiritual contract." The blood god clone stimulated him. A taste of their own medicine. Xiaojai was speechless. He was the one who provoked the other party, but now it was the other party's turn to provoke him. "What, if you don't dare, just say it." The blood god clone smiled calmly. "When we reach the flaming meteorite planetary sector in the planetary sector, I will sign a spiritual contract with you." Xiaojai looked at him intently before leaving. The dark apparitions exchanged glances with one another. They were flabbergasted. This was a huge gamble. No one expected them to take such a huge gamble. One party would have to sacrifice his body if he lost. If the other party lost, he would become the enemy's slave for life. No matter how you looked at it, the bet was a little overboard. The one who lost would lose everything. This was huge. Both of them were too much of a gambler. "Let's meet again in the flaming meteorite planetary sector." Huan Shenao glanced at the blood god clone intently with his green eyes. Then he disappeared. The other dark apparitions didn't say anything when they saw this. They sighed and dissipated the screen. Only the giant devil race, the sheephead devil race, and the devil moth race dispersed. They glanced at the blood god clone and exchanged glances with him. There was nothing to say. Done. The stalling tactic was completed successfully. The blood god clone blinked and smiled uncontrollably. What's more, he didn't just buy enough time, he also accidentally obtained a slave from the devil mind race. What a huge gain. Without a doubt, he felt that Xiaojai was going to lose. Becoming his slave was a foregone conclusion. The other party might not know that this was a trap. Once you entered this game, you can forget about leaving. At this moment, the vampire dark apparitions exchanged glances with one another. They were all shocked by the bet and even forgot to speak. They didn't know what the blood god clone wanted to do. Was he really going to compete with the other dark apparitions and make a name for himself? But there was no need to go all out. Everyone felt a little helpless. Their blood son was really good at making enemies. The devil mind race's Xiaojai was already unhappy with him. After the teasing, he probably hated him to the core. This blood son was good at creating trouble. In the past, the talents of the vampire race didn't dare to provoke the devil mind dark apparitions. Even vampires would become the devil mind dark apparitions' hunting target. The devil mind race had never stopped eating. They would not only collect the bodies of other living creatures in the universe, but they would also collect the bodies of the talents from the various dark apparition races. Xiaojai had his eyes on the blood son's body, which was why he made this bet. Yet, the blood son agreed to it. What if he lost to Xiaojai? The other party was a talent from the devil mind race. He was known for being powerful and mysterious. Even the blood son might not be his match. Chapter 37:22 engraved the array, arrival of dark apparitions, horrifying, Arvs and Eulogian, one blood son. The vampire dark apparitions were worried. They looked at the blood god clone and hesitated, especially Euphelia, Zarosa, and the others. They were worried. Xiaojai from the devil mind race wasn't a simple person. Don't worry. The blood god clone glanced at everyone and replied calmly. He could tell that these vampire dark apparitions were really worried about his safety. They weren't just worried that he would lose to the devil mind dark apparition, Xiaojai. This made him feel a little complicated. As Wang Teng's clone, the blood god clone's standpoint had always been the light universe. Even though he was a vampire, he couldn't be on the same side as the vampire dark apparition. The blood god clone sighed in his heart. He slowly closed his eyes and stopped looking at the vampire dark apparitions. He was afraid that his heart would soften. For no reason, A sense of loneliness rose into his heart. Everyone seemed friendly and amiable to him, but only he knew that he was lonely no matter which side he was on. No one could understand this feeling. The vampire dark apparitions didn't know what the blood god clone was thinking. When they saw him closing his eyes, they didn't say anything. Although the blood god clone seemed confident and didn't seem worried that he might lose to Xiao Jai, they were still worried. They wanted to kill more talents from the light universe so that they could increase his count. That way, they might be able to win against the devil mind race in numbers. On the flaming meteorite, Wang Teng sat cross-legged on a huge mountain, surrounded by flames. He closed his eyes and immersed himself in his mind. Round Ball and Isith were floating at the side when Round Ball's expression changed. It seemed to have received a message. "What is it?" Isith glanced at him and asked. "There's a message from the blood god clone," Round Ball replied. Swoosh. At this moment Wang Teng opened his eyes abruptly. A sharp glint flashed past his eyes. There seemed to be an occult and complicated array spinning slowly in the depth of his eyes. "What did he say?" Wang Teng looked at Round Ball and asked. "There's more than a day until the talents from the light universe and the dark apparitions arrive at the flaming meteorite planetary sector. However, the blood god clone has already thought of a way to buy you some time. You should hurry," Round Ball uttered sternly. "I understand," Wang Teng nodded. "The array has been improved. We can start carving." "It's done," Round Ball was surprised. Isith looked over in surprise too. She hoped that Wang Teng could create a miracle, but she didn't expect him to complete the array so quickly. Was this fellow's secondary career talent really so powerful? "You'll know soon," Wang Teng smiled. He kept quiet and turned serious. He took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Boom! A majestic spiritual kinesis moved out of his body. The rune materials floating around him started moving. Swoosh! Wang Teng's body disappeared too. He transformed into a beam of light and soared into the sky. The rune materials followed closely behind him as he soared into the sky. "It looks like I have to start carving arrays." Round Ball took a deep breath too. There was a hint of anticipation in its eyes. "Come, let's go and take a look." Isith turned into a ray of ice-blue light and followed Wang Teng closely. "Wait for me." Round Ball's reaction was the slowest. It immediately released its spiritual kinesis when it noticed that the human and dragon were about to disappear. It turned into a beam of light and chased after them. Just like Wang Teng, it was a divine spirit master and had reached the heaven realm. The speed it released wasn't much slower than a universe stage martial warrior's. It caught up with Isith gradually. Isith looked back in surprise. She had only unlocked the power of a universe-level martial warrior. If not, she could have done it faster. However, she was surprised that Round Ball was able to catch up with her. The light in her eyes flickered slightly. A smile appeared at the edge of her lips. She increased her speed immediately. Round Ball was stunned. Then it increased its speed. Hence, both parties started a competition in the void. They wanted to see who was faster. Only Wang Teng continued flying at the front. No matter how fast they increased their speed, they couldn't catch up with him. After some time, Wang Teng stopped abruptly. He compared the map in his mind and nodded slightly. The meteorites in this planetary sector were moving all the time, but the overall situation didn't change. The improved array took this into consideration, so it wasn't a problem. Boom, boom, boom. The next instant, a few balls of divine flames of different colors erupted from his body without any hesitation. The pure white holy flame, the crimson soul of thousand beasts flame, the emerald glazed flame. 3 strange flames swept through the universe, giving off a scorching heat. The red flames burning on the surface of the meteorites dimmed as if they had seen the King of Fire. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Materials flew over from afar and merged into the 3 divine flames. They were melted and refined. Chapter 37:23 engraved the array, arrival of dark apparitions. horrifying Arvs and Eulogian. 2. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, Wang Teng gestured his left hand and all the beast flames he had exploded. They hovered around him and burned silently. Some lesser materials flew over from afar and merged into the beast flames. They were also melted and refined. Round Ball and Isith rushed over from the back and saw this strange scene. They were astounded. They had witnessed Wang Teng's mastery in his secondary career, but they were still astounded when they saw this scene. "What a pervert," Round Ball muttered softly. Isith didn't say anything, but it wasn't hard to tell that she had the same thought. No wonder he remained calm and composed even though there was only a day left. His efficiency was insane. Normal rune masters couldn't be compared to him. After some time, the ores turned into various liquid metals. The impurities were removed and they became extremely pure. Boom! Wang Teng released his spiritual power and turned it into carving blades. He allowed the liquid metal to merge into the space around him and started carving on the blades. He didn't want to carve runes on the meteorites. He wanted to carve them in the void so that the liquid metal could hide between the cracks in space. These meteorites were always moving and could be easily damaged. If a war broke out in this area, the array would be easily damaged. Even if it was just a small rune, it would affect the power of the entire array if something went wrong. This was the disadvantage Wang Teng discovered. By right, after the array was completed, it would have a self-protection function. Outsiders wouldn't be able to break into the array, so they wouldn't be able to destroy the meteorites. However, the situation here was a little special. The meteorites were constantly moving, so no one knew if they would exceed the range of the array. Also, before Wang Teng finished carving the array, the talents from the light universe and the dark apparitions might arrive. At that time, a battle would definitely destroy a portion of the meteorites, and the runes inside would be hard to protect. Thus, instead of carving runes on a meteorite, it was better to carve them in the void. Fortunately, he possessed the space talent so he could hide these materials in the cracks of space and merge them with the void. This would ensure that nothing would go wrong. Sizzle. After losing the high temperature of the flames, the liquid metals immediately cooled down and solidified. Then, strange runes appeared out of nowhere, as if they were carved by an invisible hand. After some time, Wang Teng merged the ingredients into the space around him and carved runes on them. Done! Wang Teng heaved a sigh of relief. Then he turned and dashed in another direction. Next place. He matched the map in his mind as he searched for the most suitable node to carve runes. Round Ball and Isith remained silent. They followed behind him and watched him carve the runes quickly. They exchanged glances with one another and felt anxious for Wang Teng. Too fast. The two of them were dazzled. They were afraid that Wang Teng would make a mistake. Even an immortal-level martial warrior like Isith had never seen such crazy actions. Most rune masters were extremely careful when carving arrays. When it came to crucial points, they would have to go through many rounds of inspection before they dared to continue carving. However, Wang Teng didn't pause at all. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water. She felt that she saw another way of carving arrays on Wang Teng. She would never be able to see this method on another person in the future. No one could learn it. If someone dared to copy him, they would have a terrible ending. Monster! A murmur rose in Isith's heart. Time passed quickly. In a blink of an eye, half a day had passed. Wang Teng had finished carving all the runes at the edge of the array. Now, the runes he carved were moving towards the center. The center was where the flaming meteorite was. Wang Teng's array encompassed almost the entire flaming meteorite planetary sector. Besides the furthest part of the flaming meteorite planetary sector, he had carved runes everywhere else. This was undoubtedly a crazy move. No wonder he asked the solar dragon planet to prepare so many materials for the array. He had already decided that he would turn the entire flaming meteorite planetary sector into a terrifying array. Even if it was just a saint-level first calamity array, once it covered a wide range and made use of the frightening fire force in the flaming meteorite planetary sector, the power it could release would be terrifying. Even Wang Teng couldn't imagine how powerful this array would be. After his modification, this array became more compatible with this planetary sector. Theoretically, the power it could release would be stronger. This was the basic premonition he had as a saint-level rune master. There's not enough time. Wang Teng turned serious. He calculated the progress of the array and muttered, "I need to be faster." Chapter 3724 engraved the array, arrival of dark apparitions, horrifying Arvs and Eulogian, 3, round ball, Isith. That was slow. Wang Teng didn't give the other rune masters any chance. If the other rune masters realized his carving speed, would their eyes pop out? Swoosh. As soon as he completed speaking, balls of energy floated out of Wang Teng's body and formed balls of light of different colors around him. These balls of light transformed quickly. Then a few figures similar to Wang Teng stepped out. They were his clones. There were 10 runes, each corresponding to an attribute. "Go!" Wang Teng's eyes shimmered as he spoke. The clones nodded and turned into rays of light. They flew in different directions. It was obvious that he wanted to carve multiple runes at the same time. This was crazy, but this was the only way to go if he wanted to be faster. Fortunately, he could use his clones. Also, his spiritual power was strong enough to support the spiritual power these clones needed to carve the array at the same time. Round Ball and Isith were stunned for a moment when they saw the 10 clones dashing away. Then they were astounded. How is this possible? There was no such thing as the most outrageous. There was only something more outrageous. Wang Teng didn't care about their thoughts. He released his spiritual kinesis and carved the runes in this area. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Time passed again. Under Wang Teng and the 10 clones' crazy carving, the progress of the rune carving progressed at an incredible speed. The 10 clones had Wang Teng's rune mastery, so they had no problem carving runes. Although carving the runes of the saint-level array was complicated, there were no mistakes in the end. He completed the carving without any mishaps. The day passed quickly. Wang Teng returned to the flaming meteorite and heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, the 10 clones completed their carving mission and returned to the flaming meteorite to meet up with the main body. Finally, only the runes in the core area haven't been carved. Wang Teng didn't relax. He remained extremely serious. The runes in the core area were undoubtedly the hardest to carve, but it was also the most crucial part. "Do you want to rest first?" Round Ball inquired fearfully. Wang Teng's actions were astonishing. Round Ball and Isith observed at a close distance and witnessed the entire process of the rune array. The astonishment was even stronger. "It's too late. I can't stop." Wang Teng shook his head. "Can your spiritual power withstand it?" Isith asked grimly. "It shouldn't be a problem," Wang Teng blinked and replied. Actually, his spiritual power could only last for a few hours. However, if dark apparitions came during this time, his spirit attributes might be replenished in time. But in that case, it would be much more difficult for him to carve arrays. One was the difficulty of carving the array, while the other was the spiritual power that was about to be exhausted. No matter which one it was a huge obstacle. However, Wang Teng wasn't worried. What will come will come. If there was any difficulty, he would overcome it. He had experienced this before. Round Ball and Isith didn't persuade Wang Teng anymore. They knew that Wang Teng's carving was at a crucial moment and he didn't want to be disturbed. Wang Teng took a deep breath and swallowed a few medicines to restore his spiritual power. His eyes shimmered and he exchanged glances with the 10 clones. His spiritual kinesis swept out from their foreheads and continued carving. The core rune was carved on the flaming meteorite. He hid the runes in the cracks of space. Even high-tier Devil Emperor Dark apparitions wouldn't be able to find them. However, the core runes were too complicated and occult. Wang Teng had no way of hiding them in the cracks of space. Also, as the core of the array, it needed to rely on something. The flaming meteorite was the most suitable place. Rise! At this moment, Wang Teng waved his hand and shouted. The materials needed to carve the array flew out of the space ring and flew towards the flaming meteorite like giant pythons. These were the materials needed for the core area. They were more precious than the materials merged into the void. Wang Teng didn't take them out until he was carving the core runes. In the past, Zhuolong Yu reminded him that there was only one set for some ingredients. If he failed, he might never have another chance. These were the materials the guy was talking about. These materials were like small mines. They flew above the flaming meteorite and arrived at a certain area quickly. Scorching heat of the flaming meteorite didn't affect these ores at all. They were special fire element ores. The flaming meteorite might not be able to melt them. The only way to melt them was if they were burned continuously in an area with extremely high temperatures. Wang Teng's 10 clones appeared beside the ores too. With a wave of his hand, flames swept out and enveloped the ores. These flames were divine flames. Wang Teng left them in his clones' bodies. They could only use it once. Boom, boom, boom. Wrapped in flames, the different ores tossed and turned in the flames, melting and refining. Impurities dropped from the sky and were swept away by the flaming meteorite fire below. Chapter 30, 725 engraved the array, arrival of dark apparitions, horrifying, Arvs and Eulogian. 4. There were many ores inside. Even after they melted, they rolled in the flames like giant pythons. The impact was astonishing. After some time, the refinement was completed. Wang Teng's 10 clones acted immediately and pushed the ores into the flaming meteorite. Boom! In an instant, the ground shook violently as if an earth dragon had flipped over. The ground split open and the liquid metals merged into the ground. Then, under the control of a powerful force, the ground closed up again. The flames swept over. After some time, not a single crack was left. The ground seemed to have never been touched. After doing all this, the 10 clones continued carving the runes. Their spiritual power seemed to be carved on the ground, but it also seemed to be carved on the ores below. Time passed slowly. After some time, Wang Teng's face turned paler and paler. Large droplets of sweat dripped down his forehead. Exhaustion and weakness seeped out from his body. At this moment, he had exhausted much of his spiritual power. He didn't have much energy left. He felt a sharp pain in his mind. He had consumed many medicines. Even if he was the one making them, and most of them had 100% efficacy with minimal side effects, they weren't enough for his current condition. In summary, replenishment couldn't catch up with consumption. The array he modified seemed to have exceeded the scope of a saint-level First Calamity array. What's more, it covered such a huge area. The spiritual power required had exceeded his limit. Wang Teng's spiritual power was boundless. Under normal circumstances, he wouldn't need to use so much spiritual power to carve a saint-level First Calamity array. However, the time was too short, so he didn't have much time to recover. That was why his spiritual power wasn't enough. This situation was rare for Wang Teng, but it happened now. This showed how tight the time was. The dark apparitions haven't arrived. It looks like the blood god clone's stalling tactic is too good. Wang Teng looked out of the flaming meteorite and gave a bitter smile. He was almost at the end of carving the rune array, but he didn't have enough spiritual power. If a few dark apparitions arrived and he killed them, his spiritual power would be replenished quickly and the array would be completed successfully. So was he digging his own grave? Wang Teng shook his head and threw these random thoughts out of his mind. He took out a few more pills and prepared to swallow them. Boom! At this moment, a loud explosion suddenly occurred from outside the flaming meteorite planetary sector. Wang Teng was stunned. He immediately closed his eyes. When he entered the flaming meteorite planetary sector, he had secretly left some void mayflies behind to hide in the cracks of space. Thus, if there was any movement at the edge of the flaming meteorite planetary sector, he would be able to sense it immediately. The movement he had been waiting for seemed to be here. As he closed his eyes, his ideas appeared in the body of a void mayflies. He sensed the situation outside. Numerous spacecrafts of different shapes and sizes were flying over from afar. Behind these spacecrafts, a thick dark force swept over like a curtain covering the sky. The space behind them was pitch black. There was no starlight at all. This was a terrifying scene. It was like the scene of an apocalypse. It would make people feel depressed and fearful. The spacecraft in front was like a frightened bird. It evaded the calamity and was being chased towards the flaming meteorite planet sector. The dark apparitions are here. On the flaming meteorite, Wang Teng unsealed his eyes abruptly. He was surprised and elated. He knew that the number of dark apparition talents was frightening. Before he left the Darkland, he saw it personally, so he was mentally prepared. But now that he was facing them personally, he still felt a sense of pressure. Honestly, if he didn't have the help of the array to fight with so many dark apparitions, he would have turned and run as far as he could. He wasn't stupid. How could he face so many talented dark apparitions alone? But now that he was prepared, he might be able to fight them head-on. Wang Teng's gaze turned firm when he thought about this. He smiled and seemed a little excited. He immediately sent a notion out. After some time, the 10 clones shot into the sky from the flaming meteorite and dashed towards the edge of the flaming meteorite planetary sector. At the edge of the flaming meteorite planetary sector in the planetary sector, a huge battle was imminent. The spacecrafts of the talents from the light universe dashed into the flaming meteorite planetary sector. Their speed was affected by the meteorites. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions came from all directions. The asteroids were densely packed, so the spacecraft couldn't move an inch. After flying for some distance, it got hit by the asteroids from afar. A glaring light lit up on the protective shield. Ha ha ha! They can't run away. The hunt begins. Excited roars came from the black mist behind them. The strange warships gradually stopped outside the flaming meteorite planetary sector. Dark apparitions of all shapes and sizes flew out of the warships and chased after the spacecraft in front. Put away the spacecraft and prepare for battle. Chapter 3726 engraved the array, arrival of dark apparitions, horrifying, Arves and Eulogian. 5 At the same time, shouts were heard from the spacecrafts of the talents from the light universe. The spacecraft stopped too. Then, a large number of martial warriors flew out. Some floated in space while others landed on asteroids. They held their weapons and looked at the dark apparitions chasing them. Their expressions were grave and their gazes were resolute. A large group of dark apparitions gathered around him. Both parties were at daggers drawn. The atmosphere turned extremely tense. The dark apparitions didn't seem to be in a hurry to kill the talents from the light universe after they stopped running away. They looked at the talents from the light universe mockingly, as if they were waiting to enjoy their hopeless expressions after forcing the prey into a corner. Damn it! Didn't they say that the flaming meteorite planetary sector has a trump card left by the solar dragon race? Where is it? There's nothing here besides asteroids. FK, if these meteorites didn't block our spacecraft, we wouldn't have been caught so easily. What are the higher authorities doing? Why did they send us here to die? Resentful voices were heard in the crowd. It was hard not to feel bitter in this situation. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the black mist behind started churning and congregated into thrones of different shapes and sizes. They looked different. Some were shaped like skeletons, some looked like rocks, and some looked like pitch-black armor. But all of them had a similarity. These thrones were filled with a strange and evil aura. One would feel uncomfortable just looking at them. The talents from the light universe turned serious when they saw this scene. A high-tier devil emperor must be able to form a throne. It had to be an extremely powerful high-tier devil emperor. The moment this thought appeared in his mind, a thick black mist swept over from behind and enveloped the throne. Dark apparitions shrouded with terrifying auras appeared silently on the thrones. They were like the kings of the dark apparitions, looking down on all the talents of the dark apparitions and the talents from the light universe. Swoosh! After these dark apparitions appeared on the throne, the other dark apparitions below knelt down respectfully. Gasp! The talents from the light universe gasped and stared at this scene in astonishment. The aura of these dark apparitions was too powerful. It had already exceeded the level of a normal high-tier devil emperor. If they were right, there were a few figures standing beside the throne. They were high-tier devil emperors too. They stood at the side respectfully as if the people on the thrones were their leaders. The giant devil race, the sheephead devil race, the devil moth race, the devil armor race, the devil rock race, the spiritual bone race, the phantasma race, the lazy mist race. Everyone scanned the thrones and immediately recognized the dark apparitions. For a moment, the entire space swiveled dead silent. There were so many of them. Almost all the dark apparitions they knew appeared here. They didn't notice the talented dark apparitions piled up in front of them. However, when they saw the figures on the thrones, they finally understood why there were so many dark apparitions here. Scary, terrifying, shocking. An indescribable feeling appeared in the hearts of all the talents in the light universe. They had never seen so many dark apparitions. The astonishment was indescribable. Boom, boom. At this moment, two explosions came from the black mist behind them. The expressions of the talents from the light universe changed again. They gazed behind them. They even realized that the presence on the dark apparition's throne turned and looked over at this moment. Two different mists swept out from the black mist. One was pitch black, even thicker than the black mist behind it. It gazed like a black robe. The other was blood red. When it swept out, it gave off a thick stench of blood. It was extremely conspicuous in the pitch black mist. At this moment, the mist that looked like a black gown poured down, revealing a huge throne. There was a figure in a black gown sitting on it. It looked eerie. Beside the throne, there were a few black gowns. There weren't many of them. They floated silently like ghosts. They had no legs and only had a black gown. What race is this? The talents from the light universe stared at the black-robed figure in bewilderment. Their expressions turned grave. They couldn't see through the race of the dark apparitions, but they could feel the frightening and strange aura it gave off. They could even see the fearful gazes of the other dark apparitions. This meant that these black gowns weren't easy to deal with. Devil mind race. At this moment, a solemn voice sounded behind the crowd. A figure covered in white light stepped out of the clouds. The thick light dispersed the dark aura and refreshed the talents from the light universe. Sir Arves. Many martial warriors saluted and treated the light element martial warrior with respect. Holy Light. He's the talent of the Holy Light mercenary team, Arves. Did he just say, Devil Mind Race? What? Devil Mind Dark Apparitions. Those are Devil Mind Dark Apparitions. Disbelief sounded from all directions. It was partly because of the sudden appearance of the light element martial warrior and partly because of the dark apparition's identity. Arves, are you sure they're Devil Mind Dark Apparitions? A deep voice came from the left of the Holy Light mercenary team. This was where the talented martial warrior from the Battle Blade mercenary team was at. In front of the members of the Battle Blade mercenary team, a muscular martial warrior wearing golden battle armor with a pair of horns on his head was looking at the martial warrior covered with light force. It's you, Yulujin. The light element martial warrior called Arves turned his head and nodded sternly. He said, I saw them once. I think I'm right. I didn't expect so many devil mind dark apparitions to appear here, Yulujin said. Ha ha ha. The instant he finished speaking, An ear-piercing and strange laughter came from beneath the black gown. It looks like the devil mind race is quite famous. Many people in the light universe recognize us. HMPH tilde. At this moment, a contemptuous laugh came from within the blood-red mist. Everyone looked over uncontrollably. Then their eyes widened in surprise. The corner of a huge altar gradually appeared in the thick bloody mist. It covered half the universe like a screen. Boom, boom, boom. A terrifying aura surged out, causing the meteorites around it to explode and turn into dust. Chapter 3727 Fighting two universe-level talents alone. Bastard. Zhulongyi participates. 1. The blood-red altar shrouded the sky above the dark apparitions, casting a frightening shadow on them. A thick stench of blood wafted out from the altar. Whether it was the dark apparitions or the talents from the light universe, they could smell the thick stench of blood and turned grim. This is a vampire. Many talents from the light universe declared in astonishment. They had seen vampire dark apparitions before, but they had never seen one with such power. The appearance of the devil mind dark apparition was enough to astound everyone. But that was the devil mind race. Normal dark apparitions couldn't be compared to them. Vampires were a common dark apparition race. They were nothing compared to the mysterious devil mind race. To the talents in the light universe, the vampires weren't as intimidating as the sheephead devil race and the devil moth race. No one expected a vampire to be so powerful and terrifying. He seemed to have surpassed the other dark apparitions. What was even more absurd was, everyone saw that the dark apparitions seemed to be afraid. They didn't know why. What's that? It looks like an altar. What a thick stench of blood. Is this a terrifying presence from the vampire race? If not, how can he be so powerful? It's said that the vampire race is a large race among the various dark apparitions. They are common, but their foundation is strong. Normal races can't be compared to them. Occasionally, powerful presences will appear. Discussions were heard among the talents from the light universe. They stared at the blood-red altar in astonishment. This looks like the legendary blood god altar from the vampire legends. Arves from the Holy Light mercenary team frowned. Then he remembered something and exclaimed in a serious tone. He was appalled. The blood god altar, Yulujin exclaimed in bewilderment. I think I saw it in one of the records of the Mercenary Alliance. It should be something recorded in history. I didn't expect it to appear here. Arves took a deep breath. There was still astonishment in his voice. Blood god altar. A metallic sound was heard from afar. Arves and Yulujin turned and saw a muscular martial warrior wearing golden battle armor standing in midair. He gave off a powerful aura. However, this person was different from Yulujin. His chest, arms, and face were covered with golden scales. What was even more strange was that there was a dragon tail behind him. It hung down naturally and was covered with golden scales. They were shining brightly. Golden dragon race, Adehot. Arves and Yulujin immediately recognized each other. There was a hint of seriousness in their voices. Both of them were afraid of this new martial warrior. It's indeed the blood god altar. The golden dragon race martial warrior called Adehot raised his head and said in a low voice, "The Virtual Universe Corporation has a similar record. From its appearance, it should be the blood god altar mentioned in vampire legends." "That's right." Arves nodded. "It looks like there's going to be a tough battle this time," Adehot said calmly. There was a hint of competitiveness in his eyes. Boom. As they were conversing, the huge altar gradually appeared. The tip of the altar got bigger and strange blood-red figures walked out from the blood-red mist. They stood on the altar and looked down. HMPH. A cold snort came from below the devil mind dark apparition's black gown. Zio Jai's mocking voice was heard. "Zhu Ju, you're weak but you know how to put on an act." HMPH. In terms of acting, I can't be compared to you. A soft laughter came from within the blood-red mist. Swoosh. The moment he finished speaking, A blood-red stream of water swept out and congregated into a blood-red throne on the blood god altar. A figure with long blood-red hair and a blood-red faceless mask appeared on the throne. He placed one hand on the armrest of the throne and leaned against it lazily. He placed his hand on his chin and looked at this spectacle with interest. There was a hint of cynicism in his crimson eyes, but there was also coldness and indifference in them. It was as if any life was a cold, dead thing. The blood god clone felt that he must be evil. This was very suitable for a vampire dark apparition. He looked like a big boss. At first, he didn't plan to appear like this. However, the moment he arrived, he saw the dark apparitions putting on a show. To prevent the vampires from looking too shabby, he could only take out the blood god altar and put on a show. Of course, this was to increase the vampire's right to speak. He was a spy from the light universe. If he wanted to act, he had to do it properly. He had to be more evil than all the dark apparitions. That way, no one would suspect him. As expected, when the dark apparitions saw him taking out the blood god altar, the fear in their eyes grew stronger. Even the talents from the light universe treated him as a troublesome dark apparition. Chapter 37:28, Fighting 2 universe-level talents alone. Bastard. Xiaolongyi participates. 2. However, Arves, Yulujin, Adehoj, and the other talents frowned uncontrollably and looked at the blood god clone in bewilderment. Why did they only see a mid-tier devil emperor? Among all the high-tier devil emperors, this mid-tier devil emperor was a little eye-catching and astonishing. However, the fear of the high-tier devil emperors couldn't be faked. Whether it was the dark apparitions from the other races or the devil mind dark apparitions, they didn't seem to be looking down on him. Instead, they seemed to be on the same level as him. They seemed to be competing with each other. The talents in the light universe were even more astounded. They didn't know where this vampire dark apparition came from. Why were the dark apparitions so afraid of him? Zhu Ju, let's not waste any time. It's time for our duel to start. Xiaojai's voice came from beneath the black gown. It was filled with evilness. What's the hurry? The blood god clone said calmly. We haven't signed the spiritual contract. Have you forgotten? HMPH, Xiaojai snorted. A cold gaze shot out from under the black cloak and stared at the blood god clone. Then he waved his hand and a ray of light flew towards the blood god clone. It looks like you're already prepared. Why are you still hiding it? There's nothing wrong with my worry. Are you planning to go back on your words at any time? The blood god clone smiled and waved his hand. Blood-red mist swept out and swept the light back. The beam of light was a scroll. After opening it, a contract appeared in front of the blood god clone. There was Xiaojai's spiritual mark on it, and he could clearly feel the connection within. It couldn't be fake. At least you have some credibility. He nodded slightly. His spiritual kinesis swept out from his forehead and left a spiritual mark on the spiritual contract. Devil Mind Race Slave, captured. The blood god clone looked at Xiaojai. A strange smile appeared at the edge of his lips. The black robe, who was sitting on the throne some gap away, stared at him intently. For some reason, Xiaojai felt that something was wrong, especially when he saw the other party's smile. It made him unhappy. HMPH, since you have already signed the contract, you have nothing to say. Start hunting. Let's see who kills the most talents in the light universe. I can't wait to keep your body, Xiaojai snorted. What? These 2 dark apparitions were using them for a bet. They wanted to kill as many human geniuses as they could. The talents from the light universe were infuriated when they heard this. Impudent, Yulujin shouted furiously. Ha ha ha, scream louder. You might not be able to scream later. I will let you know what despair feels like. Xiaojai wasn't angry. Instead, he laughed like a maniac. HMPH, devil mind dark apparitions, let me understand your ability today. Anger appeared in Arv's eyes. A glaring white light blossomed around him as he stepped forward. Light element martial warrior. A pair of cold eyes shot out from Xiaojai's hood. He stared at Arves and said coldly, "Let's start with you. Although a light aspect martial warrior can't be part of my collection, it's still worth my time." Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a glaring black light erupted from his body. His black robe flapped loudly and floated up from the throne. "I wanted to fight this devil mind dark apparition, but you snatched it from me." Eulogin looked at Arves in displeasure. "You might not be the devil mind dark apparition's match." Arves glanced at him and said calmly, "Ha ha, you." Eulogin rolled his eyes in anger. "So what if you're a light element martial warrior? Why are you looking down on me?" He said coldly, "I will take over after you lose. Let's see who can defeat this devil mind dark apparition." "You two are looking down on me." Xiaojai smiled in anger. "Since you're so eager to die, I'll fulfill your wish." The next instant the black cloak expanded and a pair of pitch-black hands stretched out. Arves, who was some distance away, turned grim. He stared intently at this scene. A sharp glint appeared in the blood god clone's eyes. He was a little curious. Was this devil mind dark apparition going to control the bodies of other races? He wondered what race it was. Hiss! The instant this thought appeared in his mind, the black gown around Xiaojai's body expanded to its maximum. In the end, it couldn't withstand the pressure anymore and was torn apart. A towering and muscular body appeared from beneath the black gown. It stood in the air and was around 7 to 8 meters tall. A pair of huge fleshy wings spread out slowly. There was a thick dark aura around it. It was filled with a strange and evil aura. The sheephead devil race gloomy apparition. This was the body of a sheephead devil race dark apparition. It's the sheephead devil race. The blood god clone was stunned. The sheephead devil race's dark apparition wasn't special among all the dark apparitions. Its talent was only average. Why did this devil mind apparition choose the sheephead devil race as its body? He didn't understand. Even the other dark apparitions found it strange. They thought that Xiaojai would use an extremely powerful body, but it was just the body of a sheephead devil race. Chapter 30, 729 Fighting 2 Universe-level talents alone. Bastard. Zhuolongyi participates. 3. It wasn't that they didn't like the sheephead devil race. It was just that the sheephead devil race didn't have any special talents. However, the expressions of the sheephead devil race geniuses turned distorted. They were shadowy apparitions too, but the devil mind race didn't give them any face. They even used their bodies during the battle. This was a direct humiliation, but they didn't dare to say anything. The devil mind race couldn't afford to offend Xiaojai, so they could only swallow their anger. HMPH, Xiaojai, this is the body you prepared. No wonder you wanted to snatch mine. There's no good stock. It's all rubbish. The blood god clone smiled. The muscles on the sheephead devil race shadowy apparitions' faces twitched violently. Didn't they care about their reputation? Everybody ran over and stepped on them. It was all right if it was Xiaojai from the devil mind race. They couldn't afford to offend him, but even this vampire came to bully them. Did he think they were made of mud? Never mind, they couldn't afford to offend the vampires. These sheephead devil race dark apparitions were all controlled by Wang Teng. They couldn't do anything to the blood god clone. Rubbish, Xiaojai sneered. Let me show you how powerful this body is. Boom, an explosion erupted from his body. Thick dark constellation force exploded and shot towards Arves. Arves was speechless. Although he wanted to fight with this devil mind dark apparition, for some reason he felt that he was taking the blame for someone else. Die, however, he didn't hesitate. He wasn't afraid of the devil mind dark apparition charging towards him. He shouted and charged out with his long spear. Boom, 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 the two forces collided in the air. Two entirely different force fluctuations swept through the air. One was dark and evil, the other was light and holiness. The two forces restrained each other and turned into two huge balls of light. They took up most of the space. It was a majestic sight. Where did he come from? Why is he so powerful? The blood god clone's gaze followed Arves. At first, he just wanted to observe Xiao Jai's ability. He didn't expect this light element martial warrior to be so powerful. He was surprised. The talents from the light universe said that he was from the Holy Light mercenary team. The blood god clone wondered to himself. Round Ball wasn't beside him, so he didn't know what status the Holy Light mercenary team had in the Mercenaries Alliance. He also didn't know how famous Arves was in the outside world. Wang Teng was just a rising talent and had just reached the Heaven realm. He hadn't met many universe-level talents. Hence, he didn't know these universe-level talents who had been famous for a long time. "That vampire, come out and fight with me." At this moment, a shout came from another direction. It was Yulujin. He took the initiative to challenge the blood god clone. Me. The blood god clone was stunned. He didn't expect to be challenged. But before he could speak, another voice was heard. "Leave this vampire to me." The talent from the golden dragon race, Adehoj, soared into the sky and charged towards the blood god clone. "FK, how dare you snatch from me?" Yulujin's face turned black. He shot up too. He chose to confront the vampire because the vampire appeared at the same time as the devil mind dark apparition, and the other dark apparitions were afraid of him. Unexpectedly, Adehoj also chose this vampire dark apparition. The blood god clone was stunned when he saw the two top talents from the light universe rushing towards him. What was going on? Did they think that he was made of mud? He hadn't even opened his mouth, but they were already here to challenge him. "Your Highness Blood Son, let us deal with them." Zalanbo, Zainier, and the other vampire dark apparition stood up and said coldly. "It's all right, let me do it." The blood god clone's eyes flashed with a crimson glow. He stood up from the blood-red throne. Boom. The next instant, he tapped his feet lightly and turned into a beam of blood-red light. He shot towards Adehoj and Yulujin. Boom, boom. Adehoj and Yulujin attacked at the same time. They were all metal element martial warriors. Adehoj held his battle blade while Yulujin held his battle axes. Sharp blade glows congregated on their weapons as they slashed them out. "Good attack." Excitement flashed past the blood god clone's eyes. This clone had never fought with a martial warrior from the light universe, so he didn't know how far he could go. Boom, boom. In an instant, he released both his hands and clenched them into fists. Two blood-red fist marks exploded. The stench of blood pervaded the air. At the same time, the devilish aura gave off a sinister and evil vibe. "What is this?" Zalambo widened his eyes in disbelief. This was his battle technique. Yet the Blood Son executed it. When did he learn it? Clang, clang. A metallic sound was heard. Before anyone could react, their attacks had already collided. The blood god clone managed to stop two universe-level talents from the light universe alone. The Blood Son is so powerful. Euphelia, Zarosa, Zainier, and the other vampire talents were invigorated. Excitement appeared on their faces. Chapter 37:30 Fighting two universe-level talents alone. Bastard. Zhulongyi participates. For at first, they were worried that the mid-tier Devil Emperor Blood Son wouldn't be able to defeat these universe-level talents from the light universe. But now, they knew that they were thinking too much. The ability of the Blood Son couldn't be measured using common sense. Gasp. There was an uproar among the talents from the light universe. They stared at this scene in astonishment. This vampire dark apparition is so powerful. He managed to stop the universe-level talent from the Virtual Universe Corporation, Adehoj, and the Battle Blade mercenary team's Yulujin. How did he do it? Are dark apparitions really so powerful? It wasn't just the talents from the light universe. Even the talents from the dark apparitions were astounded. Many talents from the dark apparitions finally witnessed the power of the blood god clone. They only knew that he led the vampires to defeat the devil moth race, the sheephead devil race, the talents of the giant devil race, and even the spiritual bone race's gush. However, they didn't know what happened in the dark universe, so they didn't know his exact ability. Now that the blood god clone had acted in front of them, the stimulation was extremely strong. Huh. The golden dragon races. Adehoj squinted. He looked at the vampire dark apparition in surprise and said, "You're only a mid-tier devil emperor." At first, he thought that he saw wrong or that the vampire dark apparition was hiding his ability so that no one could see through him. After exchanging blows with the enemy, Adehoj finally realized that the vampire dark apparition was a mid-tier devil emperor. A mid-tier devil emperor was able to fight with him without being at a disadvantage. An unbelievable thought appeared in his mind. He was a universe-level talent from the Virtual Universe Corporation. Many middle-rank universe stage martial warriors weren't his match. Yet, a mid-tier devil emperor was able to fight with him. How could he accept this? How is this possible? Yulujin widened his eyes in disbelief. Mid-tier devil emperor. The other party was a mid-tier devil emperor. He was the universe-level talent of the Battle Blade mercenary team, but he had to fight with someone against a mid-tier devil emperor. This was ridiculous. Did you just realize? The blood god clone smiled and uttered calmly, "A universe-level talent from the light universe is nothing." Adehoj, Yulujin, did a mid-tier devil emperor look down on them? "You're looking for death," Adehoj snorted. He pushed his battle blade down, releasing a terrifying metal constellation force. A powerful domain power merged into his blade glow, making it even sharper. Splat, splat, splat. Thin golden glows swept out from the blade and cut through the surrounding space. Pitch-black dimensional rifts started to appear around the blood god clone. Crack. Cracks started to appear on the dark red fist mark. It was about to collapse. "Haha, I'm here too," Yulujin smirked. A powerful domain erupted from his body and merged into his axe glow. Swoosh! A dazzling golden light erupted from the giant axe glow. It seemed to have expanded multiple times in an instant. A terrifying sharpness spread out from the axe glow, causing cracks to appear in the space around it like spider webs. Crack, crack, crack. A cracking sound was heard from the other fist mark of the blood god clone. It spread to the entire fist mark. Fourth-rank metal domain in the integration phase. The blood god clone's eyes lit up. He was a little surprised. These two talented martial warriors from the light universe had grasped the fourth-level integration phase metal domain. Was this a coincidence? No, it wasn't a coincidence. They were both top-tier talents from their factions. It was normal for them to grasp the integration phase domain. Blood Devil Domain, fourth-level integration phase, activate. The blood god clone suddenly smiled and shouted in his heart. Boom, boom. An equally powerful domain erupted from his body and combined into his fist. The two fist glows gave off a thick, dark red glow. They were like glaring stars, but they also gave off a bloody and evil aura. The cracks healed instantly. The blood god clone's fist mark slammed into Adehoj and Yulujin's attacks, causing a violent explosion in the void. Boom! The frightening force residual swept through the surroundings. The next instant, the attacks from both parties exploded. The force impact caused both parties to fly back. No one was able to defeat the other, but this was enough to shock everyone. This was because the blood god clone was fighting two talents from the light universe alone. Adehoj and Yulujin stopped a few thousand meters away. They glanced at the blood god clone in the distance with a serious expression. They didn't expect the vampire dark apparition to be able to block their attacks after they unleashed their domains. The other party's ability was indeed surprising. The blood god clone floated in midair with an indifferent and calm gaze. He hooked his fingers at the two of them provokingly. Die! Die! Adehoj and Yulujin exchanged glances with each other and shouted. Then they charged towards the blood god clone. At this moment, they reached a consensus. They would work together to take care of this vampire dark apparition.